Welcome back, everyone, to the fourth and final SCC set of the day as we're in North America. It's Gormizer, it's Trelly, and Trelly up front. I want to issue a correction on Mifflin's
please do.
his closing statements, which is that Jango Fett was not a clone, is Mandalorian by birth. Boba Fett is a clone, no age process, and then the whole clone army based on Jango Fett.
And let the record show that Gore did not Google that. He was
No,
yelling
I
it.
just-
He
I
was
do
yelling
just
it
know
at the
that.
screen as Mifflin was talking.
Anyway,
and
if
saying,
you're out there and
no.
you need something to watch, let's talk about Andor, because it's awesome. Anyway, no, I got to get on track. It has been fantastic content to watch, and you've got fantastic content to watch right here as we go through and watch the Tanuki take on the Storm. It's the last set this week for the SCC that we're broadcasting, not the last set in North America, if you're interested in being able to watch those. Of course, Sunday after SBL, it'll be broadcast so you can see the finalized team that airs. But right now, we're trying to find some tiebreakers, which is we've got 4 teams that are 2-2 in the standings. And of course, after that last one, things have been very interesting for us. We can look at the schedule, see how that set just shook out. If you're just joining us now, it was a 2-0 for the Sages. The Weavers, I believe, staying at the bottom 0-5, and not a single win so far, at least set-wise, this phase. Storm and Tanuki, both 2-2 in the standings. And they are not alone. The only other team, I believe, that has been able to break the 2-2 area, is the Eldritch Hounds. Sages now 3-2, so they have the small lead. One of these two teams is going to join them up there. The other one's going to get knocked down a level. And then how the Wardens and the Hounds shakes out could potentially change some things. We might end up with 3 teams at 3-2. The Hounds might continue an undefeated streak and make it so that we have a couple teams at 3-2 and a couple teams at 2-3. We'll have to watch. Again, this one will determine at least 2 of those things I just said. And then Sunday will determine the rest of it. And Trelly, not a lot's changed for these teams, at least since last week. Go back a couple of weeks, and a little bit's changed for one of these teams. That was, Dashboard now playing on the Tanuki for support as opposed to Hurrywin, since he's now on the Scarabs. Kind of hard to be in the SPL and in the SCC, since I think it's quite literally against the rules.
It's against the rules.
But they're going to be playing against the Storm. Again, at a team that has been moderately successful. Again, when you're 2-2 in the standings, I think you go back to phases past and you see this team and you think they are someone to remember. But Zen, Oceans, Joshi, Dame, Delny, a lot of talented guys have shown up on land, look pretty good in the process, are still waiting for that maybe big breakthrough moment.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I've been very impressed with the Storm as of recent. This new iteration of the Storm, I suppose we could call it for this phase. Specifically, Dame in the jungle, I think, has been playing extremely well. Everyone has carry potential, which is a good thing that I look for in these teams. They're not really leaning on one player. They're not waiting for one player to pop off. They all have that potential to play extremely well, but definitely some rough patches as well, right? 2-2 isn't the best. It's not the worst. It's right there in the middle. Would love to jump up to that 3-2 as we've been talking about, but still, I think the Storm have been definitely a commanding presence in this league. They've been able to take games off of just about anyone, but also, still sitting at that middle of the pack, not being consistent. I think consistent is the main word here when you're looking to try and get to that, road to world situation where your team is playing at the top of their game. I wouldn't say they quite have found that spot just yet. And I imagine this game will be a good look for them, right? Like how much have they been able to come into what exactly they want to play, and also how strong are they looking going into that tournament? Yeah. A lot of questions are going to be answered.
And I think that's, like you said, kind of the big thing right now is answering these questions. Granted, everything they get answered today, we have a month and a week, a month and 2 weeks. I guess that's just better. That's more better said. Yeah. A month and a half is what most people would call that when we get to see them play again. So there's a chance that not only that, but with balance patches, 9/11 at that point should be out. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things that'll change going forward for them. They're going to be taking on the Tanuki. And again, the Tanuki, not changing anything from last week coming into this week. It's still Dashboard playing with them as support. And Charlie, your exact words, if I remember correctly, about Dashboard were, I know that guy. He's in my ranked games playing Thor support. And that was your in-depth between-set analysis.
Well, it was more so that when he's on my team, he plays Thor support.
Oh, yeah. When he's on the
other team, he plays strong picks like Atlas and dominates lane. And I'm just can I get some of that? Can I get some of that support? So I know Dashboard can play these high meta picks, but also, like, it just seems like he trolls me, that's all.
And when you're laying in with someone like Snoopy, you know you're going to have a fun time over there. One of the most accomplished carries, I would argue, in Smite history. And just real good at Smite, and a pretty nice dude when it comes down to it as Snoopy. You got Snatty over there in the solo lane as well, who has been a very consistent force for this team. And I think even though it's been broken apart, and, you know, we've talked about the Storm in the past and had to mention Magic Feet in that same breath, now mentioning it against them. But someone who has, you know, kind of taken at least this scene by storm in a way I'm sure not many people expected. Magic Feet shows up, no Twitter, no, admittedly, real knowledgeable background that anybody has on the dude. Plays a mean jungle, and then he just stays silent. Now a little more well-known at this point. And so I think it's going to make some interesting plays for us throughout this game.
Yeah, when we talk about the Tanuki, I always have to bring up the meta conversation in the sense that I feel as if they don't really understand.
Look at the team they're literally playing in the highlight. Like, they don't understand what the meta is.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just they just be playing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they don't quite have. Maybe it's not that they don't quite grasp the meta, more so that they don't want to play the meta.
They don't care about the meta.
Sort of like what
Why
Mifflin
should
was saying.
something like that dictate who they are?
Exactly. Maybe a little bit like what Mifflin was saying about the Weavers, where it's just like they don't want to play the meta. They don't care about those sort of things. So I imagine that's the conversation to be had about the Tanuki as well, in the sense
Except when the Tanuki have done it, they've won.
that is true.
Damn, that felt mean.
That was kind of mean, but you know, get a dub. I don't know. I feel like we are here to analyze. If they haven't won yet, at least the Tanuki have 2 dubs. So
yeah, there you go.
That wasn't that mean spirited.
Yeah, especially now that it's been like you kind of hammered it out a little more. Like it was a spike before,
and then I just
you made it a nice little flat plateau for me, so that it's a little less sharp on the edges. We'll get into picks and bans. Game number 1 here. Yomi Tanuki, first pick. Storm sitting there on second. Now, you know what? I actually want to ask you this because we can kill time while bans flow in.
Sure.
Used to be, and I'm talking way back when, like before I was even hired at the company way back when. Second pick was like what a lot of pro teams wanted because it was like you got your counter pick most of the time for solo, but you got a counter pick. It was really highly coveted to be second. It feels like that's kind of been thrown in the trash, and first pick is like where you want to be now.
Yeah, I think the meta has certainly shifted for most of these teams. I think there still are some teams that value that second pick, as you said, for a counter pick, but there's some teams that are just like, if we get, you know, Ymir, Kabrakan, AMC, Daji, the Morgan, we just win. So, like, we want to go for something like that. Hades also on that topic of conversation. So, I think it depends on your team dynamic and how you want to draft. But first pick has also been extremely strong for reasons like this. You can ban the not top of the meta picks and just grab something extremely strong in that slot. So, Hades for the Tanuki, but that does, of course, leave open the Khepri that the Storm are going to be loving, and also just a lot of other safe picks in that slot.
It also brings in the conversation. Now, this is something that I don't think I'd be able to say if it was any other team there. But because of the highlights we just saw, Yomi Tanuki have played this Hades, and specifically I have to shout out Nehu, because it has been in the mid lane for them. In that highlight reel we saw, they had an Osiris over on the side. They were locking the Hades in. When I see the Kernanos, I see Ymir. It doesn't give us too much, but knowing that history, what are your opinions of Hades mid versus Hades in the solo lane?
I've seen Hades mid work, as you said, and also I've seen it in other avenues. But
I said I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I prefer it in the solo lane just because in mid everyone can clear the wave. In solo, being able to insta-clear the wave with just like fear into devour souls, and also I'm going to go steal your blue buff, and also I'm getting way more farm, I think is incredibly valuable as well. So I prefer it in solo, but hey man, Hades is just good. Like Hades is just strong, the itemization works really well, and I'm not going to hate it in mid either way. I just prefer it over in that that short lane, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. No, short lane. Yeah. You looked even more confused after I confirmed it.
Because I never say long lane, short lane. I know duo is the long lane, but does that intend mean that? Because like mid is shorter than solo.
Is it?
From tower to tower, it looks shorter. Certainly is, right?
So we're gonna need a ruler. We're gonna need a ruler and a ruling on the field for this. I don't know. Now I'm gonna. Okay, we'll get to the game. I'm gonna look at the mini map. Instead, we can fall apart for a second, then recollect ourselves, jump into this. Haven't touched on the other side. The Khepri, the Chiron, the Nemesis, the Ho-Yi lock-in. And now one more there for the Storm. And it's going to be the Tier, who we've been seeing on the rise. The other side, we get the Kalina, who jumps in, as well as the Bologna. And oddly enough, we were just talking about how Kalina wasn't being played earlier during a Bastet game where we were talking about how Bastet wasn't really being played earlier. You get both in one day, and it's going to be an interesting one for us. But now, it kind of solidifies that the Hades more than likely mid, unless it's a Bologna mid, which is even weirder. So feels like it's going to be falling into place there up against the Chiron more than likely. And Aklina getting locked in there, Trelly, catches my eye maybe the most of all, just because it's been, again, so long since we've seen it really stand out as meta.
I mean, you've been talking about the fact that, you know, Magic Feet exploded onto the meta. These were the picks that he liked. He played Bastet and he played Kalina. These were the kind of characters that he really liked to play. We saw in the Summer Masters era around there, some chalks come through, different styles of picks when they were playing on LAN, and I was like, this doesn't really feel like, I mean, again, it was the Storm at the time, but the style of play that Magic Feet likes to go for. The Kalina, definitely that style of play, but Kalina has taken some nerfs since then, hasn't been that strong in the meta, so we'll have to see if the Tanuki are able to make it work. The main thing I think of when I see a Hades in the mid lane, or a Hades in general, is who's burning beats for that Hades. You got Ymir and Bologna, you should be just fine in that regard.
Yeah, we'll see, I think, how that one ends up shaking out. Other side, right? That conversation needs to be had. Khepri, a real pain in the side. You get the Nemesis as well, really good shred. Tier, we have seen be an absolute menace in the last few weeks. I mean, stop no short. In fact, you know what? You don't even have to watch the game fully. You can just go on to Betty Smite on YouTube. There's a nice abbreviated version there of SOT's Tier game for the Titans. And it was like it was disgusting, but in the good way. Like it's like, why? How are you getting away with this? And so it feels like if the Storm if you can channel even a little bit of that, that's a pretty successful Tier.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think that Delny has piloted the Tier in similar ways. Like, not that dominant of a performance, but of course just knows how to pilot the Tier, knows how to get behind, you know, burn those beats for their own team. And of course, that's exactly what you would want from Tier. You know, it's an annoying style of play because Tier's not the character that's gonna, you know, walk at you, do a little bit of poke damage, and stall for his team. He's gonna be as annoying as possible. He's gonna come online early, and he's probably gonna be able to 100-0 you up until late game. So I think that is a pick that Delny should be able to use throughout the matchup. And I think there's a couple of characters on the side of Tanuki that don't really appreciate it, like Kalina. Without that first ability, you should be getting pretty damaged by that. And also the Hades, if you're building full damage, you can be displaced a ton by the Tier. So Tanuki, you're gonna have to watch their positioning there.
Very impressive to me, and I think again maybe I'm ignoring phase 3 in this one. I don't know if I've added that in for the SCC because I was waiting until the end. I can continue this point as we jump into game number 1 here between these two teams. But a couple of things I've noticed. One, Kalina, at least overall, was the #1 first pick across all of the SCC going into, again, I believe, phase 3. And then, this is the other one I had noticed, Trelly. Because I'd asked you about first pick, and I thought, you know what? Instead of just asking which one do people want, we can find out which one's winning a little bit more. And so I looked it up for both SCC and SBL. I found out that, one, the SBL has just slightly more than double the SCC amount of games played. But then the other thing I found out is that they're both sitting around the exact same amount of order side win rate, which is 49%. So I got bad news for the Tanuki. They've got 1% in the hole, which might as well just surrender now. It's completely thrown. You're never going to be able to make up for 1% against you, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But I'm absolutely baffled at what I just witnessed. Can anyone explain to me why Oceans decided to let Dashboard steal their purple and instead try and contest Snoopy for their purple and just didn't even use an ability and try and steal it? So now the Tanuki just have both purples?
Not only that, Dashboard no hog either. So it's not like like you couldn't have forced him to do anything there. There's no pulling Dashboard back. Maybe you can get aggressive on the next one. But Oceans had the hog.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so you wanted an explanation. I don't have
I knew that no one would, but I want to know at least, I'm assuming the call was, oh, Dashboard's here, so Snoopy's a green buff. I'll just go up and take the purple too. And then Snoopy's like, I actually didn't do green buff so I could defend this. And then Oceans is like, well, I already got the Invader's Curse on me. I'm way too slow, so I can't, like, go back either. So just hung around and did nothing in the process. And here we are. Now the duo lane looking a little bit better, and Oceans is level 1 for it.
And just a couple of autos, Zen having to tank up a few there from Snoopy. Just to ensure that Oceans doesn't die. Has health potions. Had the shell as well, so you have to imagine maybe not feeling, let's call it worse for wear. And so able to stay alive throughout this one. I'm going to keep my eye on the purple buff respawn timer, though, because that's going to be... Honestly, it's almost weird to think of it this way, but it feels like a big deal because if Dashboard and Snoopy can play aggressively and get that, despite the hog Oceans still has, then I would argue the hog has lost its entire value based on whether or not it gets used at the next purple.
Yeah, and that's some gold down the drain as well. The purple buff is being invaded. Oceans is kept... I was going to say, he was being kept so far away, not going to be able to confirm it, but now Oceans might be in some trouble. Good cripple field and some auto attacks coming through, and the dash. That should be it.
Oh, but it's not enough. Zin keeping people distracted, and he gets his purple buff. And so they didn't use the hog, but they've at least maintained something on the side of the storm. Feels weird that that's as exciting as it was, actually, but a little enticing moment in the jungle for them. And it's mainly because look at everywhere else on the map. Who's going to be dying and getting aggressive at this point? And the answer actually could be solo lane. Tier's kind of a menace early on, and Bologna has not been maybe the most prominent pick as of late. My go-to in the solo lane, but has not seen a lot of Pro League level play, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Snatty versus Tier. I guess I should say Bologna versus Tier, Snatty versus Delny. How are you feeling about this lane matchup?
It's boring for Bologna. I think Delny has all the cards. You know, just being able to fearless Bologna out of her clear means essentially you're maxing Scourge and you're probably not getting aggressive until late game. Especially because the way that Snatty likes to play this lane is all-out aggression, you know, proxy farming waves, stealing away buff camps, and then rotating in once you're 2 levels ahead. And I don't think that Delny's going to allow that playstyle to come through. So hopefully, either Magic Feet comes over and sort of plays through Snatty, or you know, Magic Feet plays elsewhere and just lets Dame sit over here. Because we know that Snatty's not going to be getting camped. There's not too much kill potential here for the Nemesis, especially with Eagle's Rally available.
You want to know how much I hate the fact that now that you've pointed it out and mentioned it, I can absolutely see. It's very, very slight, but mid lane is 100% shorter than solo lane.
Yeah. I mean, I did know it in my head.
At least in tower placement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On the mini-map.
Like, safety-wise, if you're going from tower to tower, it's got to be closer from mid. I mean, it's just a little bit shorter. So there's long lane on the left, mid lane and middle. If you're comparing left to right, yeah, solo lane's the short lane.
Shorter one. But like to just say short lane,
it's certainly not the shortest lane.
Yeah.
I guess if that was the call, it's like long lane and shortest lane. Oh, you're talking about mid?
Kelly, you've really ruined my like map-wide perception.
I'm so sorry.
No, hold on. There's gotta be. It looks longer in actuality than it does on the minimap. The minimap, it looks shorter.
I guarantee you that Ajax knows exactly how many Khepri's long the mid lane is, and he could probably tell us which one's shorter.
But I think it only looks longer there because of the jungle entrances. But if you think... Oh no, that's definitely shorter, man. I can see it.
What do we do now with this information? Do we just let it go?
I feel like my life has been a lie.
Yeah, I mean... I never understood the short lane call, so I just never said it until I just said it out loud, and I had to put that information out there with it. So I do apologize.
I don't know what to do with this information. Even more, I don't know what to do with I'm literally stumped. It stalled me.
Yeah. I mean, there's no aggression on the map, so all we have to discuss is... what do we do with this information now that you know?
Do we make mid lane longer? Do we make solo shorter? It's already pretty short.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can do much shorter than that. But apparently you can, because mid lane's shorter.
I mean, as far as tower placements go, I don't imagine you could make the solo lane shorter. I don't think that would perceived well. But
all right, so what if we just 2x the whole map?
Yeah.
And that's
all you got.
And then somebody else goes in and fills it with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with that. And you could add like a little camp in mid so that it could then be a little bit longer.
And we bring back Portal Demon.
And More portals, yes.
Yeah, just all over. There's like 6 portal demons on a 2x map.
I'm with that. And then a consumable that also opens up portals. Janus is useless. We don't need him anymore.
And you know what? While we're at it, let's just bring back the consumable teleport to gods.
Yes, now we're talking. Why don't we make the game?
Yeah, this is just pure good design.
I really hope that someone's clipping this and sending it to the design team. I can just tell Agro's just furiously shut up. Like none of you are ever pitching any of these ideas to us again.
Well, see, what's funny is I don't even need him to like message me. He would tell me that like on broadcast sometimes too. So I'm used to that. Well, we'll get in 7 minutes. Again, no first blood between them. Well, not even quite a full 1,000, but almost 1,000 in favor of the Tanuki right now. They're slowly eking out just from passive farm around the map. In the shortest lane of them all in mid, there's a big grouping. Snoopy taking a little bit of damage as well. The teams are playing safe, and Charlie, this is what you can expect. If you see these teams, I would argue normally, start of the phase, probably playing pretty aggressive is how I would word it. Here, what I'm looking at are 2 teams that recognize they're right next to each other in the standings and know that it can make a difference for them in December to just eke out the 1 win.
Yeah, I would say so. This game is playing like a game 3. You know, this game is playing as if the whole set is on the line.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like either one of these squads wants to, step out too far out of position or give up a pick. Magic Feet rotating over to the left to look at this purple buff, but the aggression has already stopped. More so interested in the Interceptor. And I'm pretty sure Ocean stole that one away. Yeah, definitely did. So unfortunately for the Tanuki, or I guess fortunately for the Storm, not going to be able to pick up that one off of a well-timed route from Oceans. But, it doesn't seem like too much aggression is happening. I've been keeping my eye on Dame. With the Blink, you'd expect wanting to get active in the early, but has not used that relic in any way, shape, or form. And damage should reflect that. There hasn't been too much poking from anyone but the solo laners. Besides that nice bounce from Snoopy, the junglers sitting at 300 and 500 respectively. They're not looking to fight just yet either.
No, not too much that they've been doing, as you highlighted in the damage numbers. It also does bring the question, because you mentioned it, like when Magic Feet was popping off, when you think of all of those memories, it's on the Kleena, and during that meta. We might not even have to hold that thought. Snoopy's able to dash away just fine. The thing that catches me the most with it is whether or not, and this might answer the question more than maybe you can, but and we kind of see it here, can he do anything? Can this Kleena accomplish that?
Yeah, Kleena definitely can. I think her late game is still absurd. Like, getting just Heartseeker procs through the wall is enough reason for me to say Kleena's still good. The issue, however, is that her early game is not great. Kleena right now is not setting up any ganks. So if Dame is getting active and forcing his team ahead pre-10 minutes, then yeah, Magic Feet's wasting a pick in that slot. But if their goal is to get him to the point where he can just hard carry late game, or at the very least be a disrupting force from inside the walls like that, then I think the Yomi Tanuki are on pace for just a fine late game, and their comp certainly will succeed in that sense because, the Storm, they have Kepri just for the magical damage. Beautiful blink in from Delny, though. Feet's getting low.
There's a little bit of damage. Magic Feet's able to get out. There's a nice Lawbringer forward. Dashboard, nowhere to run. The Storm surround him, and lightning strikes for first blood.
Yeah, so like I was saying, when Dame gets active early, Magic Feet, this cleanup pick is really going to fall off. And again, beautiful blink in from Delny, setting up that one. Pyromancer started up, and Snatty, too little, too late. Not going to make the rotation over. And the first lead of the game, well, actually, just close up a bit of the lead that the Tanuki had, is going to go the way of the Storm. It's about 200 gold, so not massive. Just, the Tanuki have been farming the map a little bit better, but first fight of the game goes the way of the Xibalba Storm. And unfortunately for Dashboard, just very immobile on this Ymir. If the rest of the team bails on you, you're probably not getting out.
Yeah, and we've seen it. We've talked to the SPL players about it. Ymir games can go one of 2 ways. You're 0-5 and you've been doing a lot, or you're 0-9 and your team's losing. Sometimes there's no middle ground. We'll see where Dashboard continues with this game. It's only 1 kill, and considering the small lead the Tanuki had cultivated, it actually brings the game closer to even than maybe in favor of the Storm here. Slightly lead for them, but I mean, that's going to change wave to wave at this point. It's so minuscule. Once again, conversation around the Interceptor. Storm able to control it. I expect to see someone pick that up soon. With Gold Furies on the line in early conversation because of the 9-10 patch, you have to think one of these teams is going to feel a little more confident about it. But I don't see a lot of, like, crazy secure on either side, Shelly. And so, you know, like, yes, admittedly, Pyromancer already gone, things like that. But, like, when it comes to Gold Fury and almost needing to secure it, maybe a little more you need to have behind you, a little more hope behind you before you just pull it for the whims.
There is actually a very interesting strat that originated in Duel with Hades, and because Nehu's in mid, I can talk about it. There used to be a play where you could take the minions and walk them into the jungle, and they'll follow you as long as they don't get targeted to the wave. And because the more minions you have, the more Devour Souls does, you could just steal red buff indefinitely by walking the wave over towards it. So if Nehu just walked the whole wave over to Gold Fury and then just silenced them all and blew up the Gold Fury, that could be a play. I don't think it's going to happen, but they would have a little bit better confirm in that regard. You still got to watch out for the rest of the team, and Dashboard still has to watch out for Dame, who's going to be trying to shred some protections here. With that wall, might get away from trouble for the time being, but still the rest of the squad's here.
The Dashboard taking a lot more poke than maybe wanted, but is going to be able to walk away. Sun's dropped by Zen. Not enough to be able to find the kill. Pressure on, though. Storm trying to find it. A pick there turns into an easy Gold Fury with that amount of aggression. But instead, Trelly, it's like a walk of shame in Smite, but you have to go back just to your own red buff. Not too much that you're going to find there. Also, shout-outs to Joshy, just because of the skin he's rocking for his Chiron.
You gotta love that. At the very least, I think, as I said earlier, by the way that we're building here, the Tanuki are definitely looking for late game. I mean, double stacking in the mid lane. Nehu goes Warlock's second item. Soul Eater just finished up and starting to get stacked for Magic Feet as well. It really doesn't seem like they're too pressed about trying to fight anytime soon.
They're looking at 25 and going, that's our mark.
Yeah, we'll be sitting back for the time being, whereas, you know, the Storm aren't upset about getting to late game, certainly, but without AMC or any incredible amounts of prot shred, it's really just off of the back of Oceans. That's the only prot shred they're going to be going for, assuming that Dame isn't applying the ultimate and saying, we're killing this target and this target alone. So you got to make sure that you're watching where this Nemesis goes to make sure that they have enough damage late game. I mean, 4 Fizz with just the Kepri, it's not going to be easy, especially if Dame wastes that ultimate.
Storm. I thought we were going to maybe get a little more aggressive. It's just a fight over the Oracle, split down the middle between the two teams. And so no egregious vision control given over in the Gold Fury pit. Magic Feet shows face in the left-hand lane. Doesn't have too much to say. Zen just leaps away.
He just wants the scepter, man.
Yeah, they finally get one, right? I think that's the third time we've seen this much pressure over here for the Tanuki in a row. And they're able to get a little bit. Sun's dropped by Zen. Felt like maybe a fight could have broken out. The Storm
could have.
Just trying to make sure nothing goes wrong. And they keep their 1-0 lead, and the same amount, like 150-ish gold that has been bouncing between these two teams. You'll never guess, but it is exactly where it was before. You'll never be surprised.
I would not have been surprised because I have been paying attention to it just in case a jump of over 100 gold went through, but because Pyromancer's going to be back up shortly.
When you word it like that.
Yeah, just in case. That'd be insane. I'm like, wait a second, what happened? Someone missed a wave. But not going to be the case. And as you said, very even in that regard. Delny almost invaded speed. I was going to say, like, you got to be real bored over in solo lane if you're debating on invading speed buff. Or real ahead, which Delny is not. Relatively even with Snatty on the opposition. Finally, the Xibalba Storm are going to start up a Gold Fury pull. They definitely have the burn. Zen doesn't quite have the Suns back up, but Snoopy gets blinked on.
It's going to be some damage onto Snoopy. Trying to disengage as best he can. Chase down is there from Dame. Dame's going to get the kill. The Fury gets taken down. The chase is on. Dame's so incredibly low. Instead, it's Dashboard that's down. Magic Feet nowhere to run. And an easy pickup for Joshy. 3 down on the side of the Tanuki in the Storm in the lead.
That was so sick. I mean, Dame was able to stay alive. He pre-beats the ult from Snoopy. Then at 1 HP, hugs the wall, and Oceans just gets that Scarab's Blessing off. So 4-0 in favor of the Xibalba Storm. The gold lead not so absurd just yet, but the Fury also going down in their favor. It looks like Joshy might be rotating over towards that Pyromancer. I do see the Manticore spike. It will be picked up. Chunking damage coming through here shortly whenever that cleave comes off cooldown, and there it is. Insane.
You know, I was talking about the spike in the charts, but I'll take the Manticore spike as well. And we'll be more than fine with it. Snatty caught in the wrong neighborhood, man. 1v4. And this ain't Season 2 Bologna. I imagine soon Dame with a slow, with an auto. A little bit of help from the Fire Giant's going to find that kill, no problem.
It was a big spike in gold as well. I mean, I just thought you were calling out how cool Manticore spikes
Manticore,
looked.
hey, you know what? It is pretty cool.
I would say
and
so.
on tier, big old thumbs up.
Yeah, because you just get way too many of them. I mean, you knock someone up, then you get another one from pushing them, and then you do it again, and you just get 3 different spikes to use however you please, and then you get to just change stances and do it multiple times. I think that's why Delny loves this pick so much, and unfortunately for the rest of the Tanuki, this is a level 16 tier that is not afraid of anything, especially with Wingblade. There's a lot of slows. Oh my goodness.
God.
Magic Feet is not going to be able to get into the wall if he doesn't juke the Lawbringer. It looks
Yeah.
like he will be able to juke that one just fine. But Delny has Blink, so keep your eyes on that cooldown.
Oh, come on, Delny. You can't do that. I got blink baited. I was so certain it was about to happen. Instead, Snatty's there, spoiling the fun. Otherwise, Delny's probably looking at a solo kill. 5-0, Storm. They're up a considerable amount, Trelliak. Like, I mean, in the blink of an eye, it feels like. Suddenly, jump all the way forward. Even talking about the spike from earlier, but now we're talking 3,500-ish. I would honestly wouldn't mind seeing them push even further beyond if they can keep up this amount of pressure. Snoopy is getting dove under the tier 2 by Dame, who seems to have no quarrels at all with trying to bring the fight to the Tanuki. And thanks to the Trebuchet here in mid, it's going to be a very easy tier 1 for the Storm as well. Map play across the board going in favor of the Chaos side.
Yeah, definitely so. Snoopy, at the very least, was able to hold on to relics during that dive, and I guess wasting out Dame's ultimate in the process, but just trying to open up some farm over on the left side of the map for sure, possibly looking for that tier 1 over in left, but not going to be the call. So the Xibalba Storm are in the driver's seat, right? I imagine they wait for Primal Fury after that, turn their attention towards Fire Giant, and look to see if they can make a pick, assuming all things go as they plan. But Nehu sitting 0-0, finished the Bancroft's Claw, finished stacking Thoth and Warlocks. I mean, this Hades ult is really going to be chunking. We haven't seen the Pillars of Agony used aggressively yet, but this is a Blink Hades, Blink beads already completed. And I'm just waiting to see when this Hades can make the rotation over. I want to be sold on the Hades mid so far. This is the point you're trying to get to. Once these 3 items are online, like, Hades is here. Whether mid, solo, doesn't matter the role. If these 3 items are here, Hades is in position to start chunking.
It's given me the same mindset as like a mid Zhonghui. We haven't seen it in mid for a while. Most of the time it gets thrown over into solo, but
Yep.
you throw him in mid and it's like, all right, I'm going to blink, I'm going to get my ult off, and if I live, that's sick. But if I don't, I got my job done, the damage is dealt. And ideally you're living just long enough to get something out there. Nehu probably going to be in that topic of conversation. Bancroft's Claw, as you had highlighted, plus the 2 stacking items completed. And I keep my eyes on that blink, because as long as it's on cooldown, there's potential for a fight. Although it's been the Tanuki, I mean, even when they aggress, it has been them constantly having to turn tail and run. I mean, and you know, starts really well for them in the jungle at the beginning of the game with the purple buff invade. And it's kind of fallen flat on its face every other time that they've tried to get into the jungle and get something going.
That has been the case. And actually Nehu going for what appears to be the Breastplate of Valor in that last item slot currently being built. So a little bit tankier going to help out, but Delny with a beautiful blink from behind, already half health Nehu.
And it's making things real easy to burn through Pillar of Agony, not enough protections. And Delny able to pick up one there. Lawbringer forward, he once more. The double fearless clean for the tier, and just needs a little bit of help to get the second kill. 2 down, 1 TKO'd. And with a Fury waiting for them, the Storm are going to go pick up a neutral objective. Snatty, though, has not left. He's hanging around in the Fury pit, spotted out. And so is known, has to run back to mid. Storm get themselves the Primal Fury, the couple of kills, and they get to back off clean.
Yeah, Delny has been on fire so far this game. 4 assists, and all of them have been massive fearlesses to set up for the team. But it looks like with that Fury going down, I did say that a possible Fire Giant after the fact could be on the cards, and it looks like NMyZ not going back over to left lane. Joshi also on the way over. Could, of course, be just a Pyromancer pull, but if I had to guess, I would think the Storm are feeling pretty confident going for this FG with the lead they've got going for them. Pyromancer started up by the Tanuki, but they better stop that immediately.
You got to be careful here. You get caught out by the Storm, all they need is these staggered kills. Hades made it back, respawned. So it might stop at the Pyromancer, especially with Snoopy getting the back off, but if Dashboard goes down here, that could be massive. Just deleted from the board. Snatty has to run away. Slows are good. Dame is chasing them down, forces the ult over, and you might as well talk about a wide open field for the Storm. Starting up the Fire Giant, Nehu, Snoopy, Magic Feet as well in the neighborhood. Teleport in from Snatty, Fire Giant. The Suns have been dropped. It's going low. Storm able to pick it up for all 5, and that's the sign for the Tanuki to turn tail and run.
Yeah, they're going to be able to grab FG on 5 and continue the push. Delny not letting anyone from the Tanuki go for a lazy back. Tier 1 tower and right going down, but it looks like Nehu going to go for some split push of their own, trying to get some gold in the process. But the Storm up 8-0. They've got FG. I don't imagine they're too afraid of this situation. And Dashboard, not able to frontline. Not at all. This Jameer, I mean, Mail of Renewal into Sovereignty, decent build thus far, but just cannot stand. As long as Dame's there to shred the protections as well, cannot survive long enough to keep this Phoenix alive. But the Storm, playing this cautiously.
Yeah. You had mentioned it earlier. Or it felt like it could have been great for them without a lot of prot shred. Except for Dame's ult, and, well, and occasional, I guess, like that sprinkling in that comes from Khepri. And you had highlighted it and said, well, unless Dame is saying, let's kill this one guy and that one guy only, and then it's going to make things hard for the Storm, and you'll never guess what they said. All right, well, let's kill this one guy and that one guy only. Poor Dashboard. Half the deaths of his team bullied the instant that they show up, 3 levels down. And like you said, while the build is good, there's only so much you can do when Oceans has a lead the way they do at this point. And for the Storm, you're feeling 11,000 gold and powered. Charlie, it feels like it's just a great spot to be in, and unfortunately for Dashboard, he's been the lightning rod.
Yeah, and I also think that it's just, you know, support syndrome. When your team's behind, you are usually the first target because you're the first one standing there to try and stop the aggression.
Yeah.
So not really a fault of his own. Just Ymir is one of those picks, as we said at the beginning of the game. You're either running the game or losing the game. And the situation right now is that Delny is W-keying at Nehu behind the green buff, whereas Snoopy and Snatty gonna grab a tier 2 in the process. Gonna grab that Magi's Blessing, but Dame wins that trade easily.
God.
On a rampage is the Nemesis, while the rest of the team going for that left side tier 2.
I've never wanted the T-screen for Snoopy more than right now, just to see, like, I saw chunk down to half and then dead. I did not see enough that was in there to make the last half of that make enough sense. Jez gone, 40 seconds in a 4v5. At least a 4v4 over here on left. There's going to be the Pillar of Agony. Ocean's taking a lot of damage. Good kill for Magic Feet. Finally puts one on the board for the Tanuki. But did it cost him too much? Because Delny is here. And in the mid, you've got the push going on for Dame. As long as Delny, Joshi, and Zin can keep the distraction going on the left. 16 seconds without Snoopy. Essentially a minute without Nehu. And a lot that you can get done in mid tier 2. Gone. Phoenix barely surviving in here over
These walls.
left. The walls have been solid. There's even a Shards of Ice to get some damage out there. Leap from Zin gets him away. Phoenix goes down. Mid Phoenix aggressed on by Dame. Won't be able to pick that one up. And with Snoopy respawning, seems to be the spot for the Storm to call a back off.
Yeah, definitely the call. I mean, Dashboard was keeping that Phoenix alive for a bit with those walls, but finally, left side bird drops 25 minutes in, and that lead, looking about 11,000 gold so far for the Xibalba Storm. They do get to back up for a bit and try and reset here. Fire Giant should be falling off in about a minute or so, so maybe have time to go for one more push, but I don't imagine that mid Phoenix is going to be looked at anytime soon here by the Tanuki. I mean, defending by the Tanuki, by the Storm.
Yeah.
So probably just going to get some last-minute power spikes and set up for the Fire Giant spawning in after. And Gold Fury also coming back here again shortly, too. But, I mean, it's looking rough for the Tanuki. They were able to find 1 kill, and besides that have been just playing Stop the Bleeding, and they have not stopped the bleeding. It has been consistent, and the farm has been explosive here for the Storm.
Yeah, they were given a Band-Aid And normally the phrase is Band-Aid for a bullet wound, but I think that there's more than that that's been going on, right? It's not just trying to stem the one shot. Maybe a few that Tanuki unfortunately have caught here their way, pushing that lead closer to the 12,000 mark with that last Fury. And Trelly, you want to talk about power spikes. It is difficult to see anybody on the side of the Tanuki keeping up. Even if you look at the items, the number, just sheer overwhelming. Tier 3s where there's not even Tier 1s on the side of the Tanuki in some role. And in some roles where they're getting a Tier 3, and I'm specifically looking down at the Deathbringer Snoopy just bought, it is having to forego an upgraded starter the way that is on the other side. So Zen maybe feeling a little more confident in their capabilities. Crits maybe feeling a little stronger from Snoopy now, though.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Nehu performs with the alternate timeline, because it doesn't seem like...
I don't think I've ever seen an alternate timeline play happen that was, like, mind-blowingly good.
Well, maybe this is the time, because Nehu has spectral armor, the alternate timeline, and I imagine trying to defend this fire giant.
Well, we'll see if it ends up helping out. Goes in deep. Big Pillar of Agony has some backup as well from Snatty. But instead, it's just a lot of poke getting thrown the way of the Tanuki. Delny trying to stay alive. Somehow manages to do it. And is escaping the grasp. Dashboard goes very far forward. Maybe too far forward. Same can be said for Dame trying to outrun Magic Feet. Won't get away this time. And it's a single pickup for the Tanuki. But there's Delny coming back in. Delny locking him down and setting him up. Zin's able to take out Snoopy, no problem. Everyone low health on the side of the Tanuki wall. Tries to create some space. Zin beads aggressively. A cleanse even coming through from Oceans just to let him play faster in their face. Avoids the freeze, gets a kill, and now it's looking like a fire giant for the Storm.
Yeah, Snatty's walking up here. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it and Scourge down. That's all. The only steal potential possible. Magic Feet might have to help out to try and get Snatty out of trouble. The Veil not going to be enough peel, and now Magic Feet could be in a little bit of trouble. The slow from Delny, no good. And the cleanest should be just fine, barring some snipes coming through from the opposition. Actually, Delny might just try and do it themselves. So much damage, the beads. No shot.
Well, he's fearlessing forward. Not going to have the cleave. Not going to have the time, the space, or any of that going in their favor. Doesn't matter. Trebuchet on right, pushing forward, no problem. Because now the Phoenix is gone, and it's going to get right into the base. Left side Phoenix still down from earlier. So mid is the target. Storm taking a little bit of damage in the process. Respawns coming through from Snoopy and Dashboard. Soon Snatty as well. Might slow things down for the Tanuki, or for the Storm, I should say. Trying to aggress into the base.
Yeah, definitely. Nehu still has the ultimate available, but no relics. And that alternate timeline proc, I still have my eyes on it. Keep it on the Hades. Delny ults in.
It's going to be a clean ult. Goes to Snoopy. Snoopy's going to dash, gets on out of there. No beads for the carry. Doesn't seem like it matters, though, because your mid laner has gone in, died once, died twice, alongside Dashboard. Poor Dashboard, 0-6-1, as the Storm take this one by storm so far. Finding clean kills, triple kill picked up. Delny finally gets taken down. But at what cost for the Tanuki? It's so far been 3. Could be the full-on deicide. Will absolutely be the Titan, as the Storm are looking to take this one and put themselves up over the Tanuki.
Yeah, that's going to be a 16-3 game number 1 here for the Xibalba Storm.
I would say pretty convincing.
Pretty convincing would be the phrasing I would use as well. And it wasn't even, I'm not going to say it was a fault of the draft. I don't think that was the case. It did seem like a lot of the Tanuki not wanting to get active, not wanting to get aggressive, playing for the late game, sure. But even at the late game, it was just the gold lead, let's call it, was a little bit too out of the park there. So maybe, trying to stop that bleeding earlier, and certainly trying to force something to happen in the early, but it didn't happen. It was all Storm rather from the start, and they were able to continue that one to the late game. 11,000 gold lead after one fire. That's pretty hard to come back from.
The Storm, early on, they lose that one purple buff, and that might have been the only thing they really lost that game. Otherwise, a wild amount of control for them. So we're going to have to give the Tanuki a chance to recoup right after something like that, see what they can do in game number 2. Of course, break that one down maybe a little more in depth, look at the numbers, peeks at the stats, all that fun stuff right after this. well in a fast fashion or a convincing fashion. A little bit of both. Storm take game number 1 here. It's Gore, it's Trelly. And again, it's the last set of the day. Potentially the last game of the day. Depends on how the Tanuki react to game number 1. Charlie, you had mentioned it. You said there was a couple of things that they could potentially react to, a couple of things that maybe they can't draft-wise. You said that wasn't necessarily a problem. A lot of it was play in-game that just didn't go well.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that the draft wasn't the problem. It just seemed like they were playing for late game.
Yeah.
And they just didn't do anything until late game, and then once the late game came, they were too far behind. So if the idea is, A, you want that same comp, then certainly get active early. But if the idea is, okay, we couldn't do anything early because of that draft, which certainly could have been the case, then yeah, maybe throw the whole draft away. I'm not quite sure which one the Tanuki are more pressed about, but man, that was such a clean ultimate. Even watching it again, that's picture perfect. That's one of those situations where you know Dame wasn't expecting the ult, but once he got close to the wall, he was happy it came through.
That's yeah, there's nothing. Some things just feel really good in Smite. And clutch Kepri saves are up on that list. I don't think they're as high as like hitting all 3 ROM shots or hitting a raw snipe through the wall or something, but pretty high up there.
Oh,
It
yeah.
feels really good to save your teammates. And on the other side, to be saved by your teammate. Just unfortunate for them. I mean, even that moment, right, the double cleanse, maybe unnecessary, the beads and the ult being dropped just so Zen can continue the onslaught, I would say, that the Storm had. And the streak continues. I don't think I've seen an alternate timeline where someone says, I'm dying too quickly in these fights, I need the second life, and then had it work out afterward. I will say, I do think I've seen people run into the fountain with an alternate timeline just to have it proc, but that might be zeros.
I've portaled out of a fight and then got Neath ulted and lived because of the alternate timeline, but never like, oh, I lived, now Uno reverse, now you're dead. Like,
Yeah.
I never get to do anything cool
It was like,
with it.
oh, cool, I'm not dead. I can get out of here.
Yeah, it's usually, because I always have this imagination like, oh, I died, but I'm Hebo, so I come back for a second, knock up, ult, now you're dead. It just never happens that way. So, and especially when Nehu went double stacking, like Pendulum would have got just so much value out of fully stacked Book of Thoth and Warlocks, whereas alternate timelines just, you died twice. Like that's pretty cool, I suppose.
I think, and that's kind of the point. It's one of those things, whether you want to debate if alternate timeline, for also 33,719 damage from Zen. Jeez. Calm down, bro.
Yeah,
Chill.
just
a
a
little
game,
bit.
man. Relax.
I get it. The standings are important. Cool. We understand. Yeah, no, it is something. But whether or not you want to talk about the importance, impact of an alternate timeline in most games, I will just say, and this, I don't have any actual numbers to back this up, which is maybe a surprise sometimes because I usually do. But like, I feel like most alternate timelines I've seen in SCC, I can't think of any in SPL, but if they've happened there, probably fallen apart from that as well. Just have not been maybe the go-to option to make things work. We'll see how things shift up, though. First in picks and bans, the Tanuki, again, will be your first pick team. I'm starting to think the tier maybe catches a ban.
Yeah,
after seeing Delaney's performance. That
Oh,
might
yeah.
be the only one that I feel comfortable with getting rid of.
I would not be surprised if the tier got looked at for sure. I think just trying to limit what Delaney can do on that pick, a smart call, or more specifically, trying to get Snatty ahead. Because when the Tanuki are on fire, when the Tanuki are popping off,
Yeah.
it's usually off the back of Snatty having a lead. And tier, unfortunately, because of the blown into the tier, Snatty was not able to get a lead, staying relatively even, but definitely not being able to run the map. So that could be something that they try to go for. But so far, pretty run-of-the-mill bans from both sides. I'm curious what the Tanuki decide to first pick. If it is the Hades, I'd be surprised. I should have talked faster, but I'm still surprised.
Well, I
but
like the idea of it slowing down because, like, your surprise is turning into, like, dread. Where
Yeah.
you're just like, I'd be surprised.
yeah, exactly.
I can't believe they've done this. No, yeah, they've gone back. Guan Yu, Thor, Yamoja bans. Other side, Amuzin Cobb, Neath, Erlong Shin. Hades' first pick, and what was it? It was the Kepri Nemesis, I think, last time. So just run that back.
I think it was
potentially.
Chiron?
Kepri Chiron, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Chiron was
Yeah,
pretty
that
and,
guy.
Hey, run it back. At this point, it is one of those things. If the team that lost is going to say, hey, it wasn't the draft, it's how we played it,
Yep.
then the team that won is going to be more than happy most of the time to go back to the same draft they played. Unless something gets shifted.
I want to see it so bad.
And so far it
we
hasn't
always hype it up when it's a full salty run back. So far, so good.
Because, and I'd have to double check with Zidane to make sure that this number hasn't changed, but way back when, if I remember correctly, there were like 3 games competitively that like the same exact 10 played each other again. Does not happen often. And
So
so
far,
far
so
we're on
good.
track
But
to do
this
it.
is usually where it
always
gets messed
up. Exactly, right? It's in the second phase of bans. And Trelly, the reason we're having to go on about this is because we just talked about these drafts for like 25, 26 minutes.
So far, so good. No
we'll
Kleena.
see. Yeah, no Kleena. Does the Kleena get banned? Do you think you would ban the Kleena?
I wouldn't, not after that performance. No offense to Magic V, but wasn't able to do much, right? So that doesn't seem.
No!
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
There's the Wilhelm scream, by the way.
Well, unfortunately, at the very
We can
least,
use that. Someone sound clip that. Put it on board.
it's just Delny off the tier. Besides that, everything else could be the full run back, and that is what we're going to see. They're just going to tease us until Delny will pick some other character in
It's
the
not
solo lane.
tier though.
It's not tier. You'll never be tier.
All our hopes
Whoever
and
you're
dreams.
about to pick, it'll never be tier. And me and Gore are
Blades of
this.
light, smite my foes.
I wanted it to.
Oh, I got leaves on my shirt. I looked down and I thought my shirt was messy, like I'd spilled something on it from lunch. Oh, he gets locked in. Ishtar changes things up. Shock.
Do you remember what I said in the very first waiting room?
Shock jungle.
Yeah, remember what I said in the very first waiting room of Season 9? I said I will be a Tanuki fan, like, you know, I will support them until the Chungle comes out, then I'm done, so... I don't know
You
what
even
else to
have
do.
like their icon in game, right? Like you're
I mean, like, I'm
Tanuki
not like
fan.
a diehard, and of course there's no bias, but
I
I
don't know,
said
you've
I would
got their icon
I
in
would
game,
support
bro.
them until the Chungle came out, so it's been real Tanuki. Let's look at over here towards this draft.
diehard.
I'm
I have their
done.
icon.
I like supporting all the teams. What do you mean? I like getting icons. I get free gems. Might as well buy all their icons.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Fair.
so I'm just
Fair
saying, like, the Chungle came
But do
through.
you have the storm icon?
Yeah, I have all of them.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
I
put
thought you
them
were
on.
gonna, I liked the idea of you saying, "Yeah, I can buy all of them." Like you can, but you've only bought the Tanuki.
No,
that
I-
would have been very funny to me. I don't know why. It's that, like Charlie said, no bias here, but the support has disappeared. So I guess some bias against the Tanuki
Yes,
now.
yes, that is true.
Because it is the Chungle, or at least we'll see. Is it the Chungle? We'll find out in game 2. It's probably the Chungle.
Yeah, I mean, he's played it before, and I didn't like it then because it didn't work then. But we'll see.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what it is?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. What's that meme like?
So let's talk about how this skin, that's not an axe. And I think that messes with all, it gives me cognitive dissonance with Shock, right? Like I'm having...
That's Odin in my head, as far as I'm concerned.
Like, I'm having body dysmorphia with a weapon. Is there a word for that?
Weapon dysmorphia.
Weapon dysmorphia? Is that a thing? I guess it is.
It is now. You have proven it to be true. As we look at the hammer wielded by Chalk, which is supposed to be an axe. It's cool, though. Like, let's be clear. The skin looks great.
Also, we got to talk about the fact that, like, one of the things he yells during his ult is thunder and lightning, and that's kind of a storm thing.
Dashboard just horrific. That was it. I mean, it was horrific on the oceans.
I was waiting for the, like...
There was no analysis. It was
I love
okay.
it.
I horrificed you, and then that's it. That's all I wanted to do at that point. Snoopy gets the purple buff, and now we get to see the Ishtar clear come through. I do imagine. I will say, because of the fact that Chalk got locked in, this is not a character that wants to wait till late game. This is not Kleena. Magic Feet should want to fight at level 5 with this blink, with these slows, wants to get active, and that at the very least makes me happy because. That was a very...
Because last game was miserable.
It was just not a lot of fighting, We saw at, like, the 10-minute mark, both jungles had 500 damage or
There
so.
was, like, 1 kill for a long...
That should not be the play style that Chalk wants to go for.
And
so
in North America. of
at
all
the
places.
very least, that's exciting. And Snatty's on the Hades. I didn't even take
Oh.
that into consideration.
Oh.
So that's something. No more 80s mid.
Now, do you think that was a Nehu decision or a team decision?
I hope it was both because I think we all came to that conclusion watching it. And it wasn't, again, nothing wrong with the Hades pick. It got ahead. It got to late game even. It was just didn't do anything up until that point. And once you're behind, Hades mid, certainly not going to be the best idea.
Yeah, didn't get as much done as it wanted to. Mostly run back from the other side. The only thing, so that tier did create a lot for the Storm.
Oh, yeah.
Cthulhu creates some for team fights, but does not have the same push power, chase power that we saw out of the tier. And so it feels like Delny's going to have to slow down, right? Like it's going to be a very different performance theoretically, coming out of the solo lane for the Storm than it was before. But otherwise, we've seen this like song and dance from the Storm just last game. We know what it can do. Oceans and Zen might not control a lot of this lane early on, but they're not going to fall so far behind. In fact, the Storm might just look for a little more. They do get first blood. Dame on the board. Now Delny just trying to stay alive. What a route to keep him alive and keep him out of there. And now it might even be the turnaround. Dame, a couple of autos. No, the slow doesn't last long enough. No way, Magic Feet's walking forward. And no way you teleport to this or try to defend this blue buff.
He's going for both of those. He's not teleporting. At the very least, he's going to try and steal it away.
Slow. I don't know if I'm more surprised Magic Feet walked in there or more surprised that the Storm didn't commit for the kill.
Yeah, I don't think the Dame wanted to dash in aggressively and definitely didn't have it at first. The dash underneath the tower was not there, but the dash there on blue probably realized Snatty's going to TP back in or at least come back in with Blink available. And that's going to be scary enough. So probably a smart call just to take that win and get out. First blood over towards Dame, so this Nemesis already off to a fantastic start. Whereas you'd feel as if Chalk has a decent early game. Again, I think level 5. The jungle comes a little bit more online. The gank opportunities are certain there. But because of Dame getting first blood and getting access to that ultimate already, the aggression's certainly going over to the Storm for right now.
We'll see if they can keep it up. Early ganks on the solo lane, not normally very easy, but it's a mage, right? So it makes it a little easier. Good dashes from Nehu. Snoopy's got a decent disengage, maybe not the best. So there's plenty of places for Dame to try and show face and maybe turn things around. It's also always interesting. I think back to, it was a Leviathan's game, Hardcore on Cthulhu, and we were talking a lot about how it's like, okay, yeah, this is a guy who isn't going to get a lot of pressure, isn't known to find too much. He's just going to hang out.
Then he got like the level 5 solo.
He hit level 5 and solo killed someone, and so I keep my eyes on Cthulhu now for the first few levels because of that exact moment. So far, we haven't seen a lot of repetition, but Delny, even with this much mana, a little bit of help, say from a Nemesis that happens to be in the jungle right now, could open up a lot for them. Snatty's playing too far back, though, and I don't think it's going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely not the case, especially with access to that Pillar of Agony. I mean, blue buff not available at the moment, but once it comes through, a little bit more MP5 will help out Snatty, who just unfortunately does not have the mana to really fight, but Magic Feet rotates over to the blue buff as well. And it looks like Dashboard spotted out making that rotation, so Dame is going to have to give up the blue buff for the time being. No invades coming through, just going to grab that Totem of Ku instead. And it looks like Dashboard might actually be looking to invade the blue buff themselves over towards the right side of the map. Maybe he doesn't want to go too far out of position. We know how much this Ymir can get caught out when it's, you're a little bit too far in lane.
Good news, again, it's not a tier on the other side. So that feels a little easier to get not caught out by, but roots are still roots. Slows are still slows. And Ymir gets slowed. Look, he's not a fast god to begin with. Something that they'll have to deal with. Snoopy taking a little bit of poke.
He's an icy
dual
boy.
Lane as well. Because of In My Zen. Throwing down the Suns one more time. Dashboard getting aggressive. Greater Scorpion's the target. But Dashboard might be losing his life for that target. Dame gets taken to half health, and Magic Feet able to get confirmation on that kill. Now it's a chase down. Delny trying to lead the way. Magic Feet, not a lot of mana. Dashboard, not a lot of health.
Wow.
It looks like the Tanuki are just going to take the one. Call it off.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, Dame blinked in, stealing that Scorpion away, or at the very least tried to. I think, yeah, the buffs are engaged, so Dame was able to steal the Scorpion away, but then got caught in the Shards of Ice, fully charged from Dashboard. Magic Feet gets credit for that kill. And then Delny goes up into the Send to Madness. You expect the knockup on a Dashboard a little bit off the mark, then you realize, wait, Delny has absolutely no mana. This was just an ultimate just to ult, and then it was already done. So the Storm lose their jungler, and now the Tanuki's sitting 1-1, a little bit ahead in gold. I mean, not going to be the biggest deal at this point in the game, but the answer back from the aggression, this is definitely something that we were looking for from the Tanuki in game number 1 that never really came through. I'm glad that they're able to get active. And this is what I was talking about with the Chalk. While I don't love it late game, it's going to get active a lot earlier than a Kalina would.
And it is, so far, doing a good bit. Snoopy just trying to stay alive right now. 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes in, too early to dive a tier 2 there. Oceans falls back, Dashboard. Maybe buying some time rotation coming in. Magic Feet's here. Nehu goes to mid camps instead. So it looks like it's just going to be the purple buff Oceans trying to stay alive. And will do so. Suns are dropped. There's the ult as well from Oceans to get the res if necessary. And a little bit of movement speed to make sure that the bug can get out of here. Magic Feet loop around. Blink forward. Hits are there. And the wall feels like it should have sealed the deal. No, Oceans dashes away to the right. Still no help. There's the axe. There's the slow. There's the kill. But this deep in the jungle, you have to think there have a punishment. Something could be coming through. But no, 2 members of the Storm on the right-hand side of the map, hanging out in the jungle, just letting the support die.
Yeah, I was looking for the rotation from anyone on the Storm, and it seemed like nobody was interested. I mean, I think Oceans played that perfectly. Pre-ulted the slow, used the shell to survive the axe, like ran as far as possible, and then once the wall came through, decided to go over right because I couldn't make it over to the tier 2 tower, and then just no rotation over. Dame was busy over in right lane trying to pressure Snatty, as well as Joshy just did not want to rotate, was in mid the whole time, so unfortunate plays, and I think Oceans did pretty much everything a Khepri could do to try and survive at that point, but when you push up that far and you get caught out, it's a long trek back to base.
Yeah, a lot that you have to work for to make sure things stay in your favor. And unfortunately for Oceans, I don't know where guns don't run fast, I guess. They shoot, I don't know. There's some joke in there somewhere probably. Not a good one though. I can see your mind working.
Well, because like if someone's like smuggling guns, they're like a gun runner. So I was just gonna say.
Oh yeah,
like,
gun runner. He's the gun.
Yeah,
not the
like
runner.
gun. Yeah, he's the gun, not the runner. And
because of that, he's slow. That's
and
the
Magic
point.
Feet was the cops or something. And, and you didn't make it.
And
Unfortunate.
Magic Feet smells like bacon. That's the vibe. Cheese it.
He's not gonna make it back in time. So unfortunate for Oceans. Falls level 6 in the duo lane.
Yeah.
A little bit down to Dashboard. This is a great change up for Dashboard because in game number 1 was just constantly finding, some aggression. I guess not at this point, like not 10 minutes into the game, but as it went on, the Ymir was getting picked out. But because there's a Khepri out there, that's another target for the Yomi Tanuki to try and pick off, and they have done so once. Let's see if they continue that trend over towards Oceans on this Khepri.
Now, will they be able to find it? Right now, they're fishing for something else, not just the Khepri, the Gold Fury. Seems like the Tanuki recognized that as a little overzealous. 2 people are looking down at the other side. It was something they didn't want to go for. Oceans will be the target here. And you had mentioned it before. It might take a little while to burn through, but burn is what they do. There's going to be the Sun's drop, the res as well, thrown onto Oceans to make sure he can survive. There's a root, there's the ult from Magic Feet, the axe, the dash, the damage, all there to find another kill. But the rotation, this time, actually happens from the Storm. They pull one back. A couple of slows, no mana. Might be able to find Dashboard as well. Stun at the tail end by Zen. And then a couple of autos is all Dame needs to make this a double kill for the Storm.
Yeah, that's going to be a great answer back there for the Storm, equaling up that gold lead, now about 52 either way, so that's not going to be a big difference. And I think a great rotation in from Dame. The stat lines are essentially just the junglers. 3-1 for Dame and 3-1 for Magic Feet. Well, there's some sprinkled away. At least Oceans takes 2 deaths in the process, but the Tanuki are going to be able to grab that Pyromancer, and that's going to be the first objective off the map taken away here. It's going to be for the Tanuki in that case, but I'm loving the aggression from both of these junglers. I mean, Magic Feet's been getting active.
Yeah.
Dame rotating in after the fact. Last time was over on the right side. This time decided, you know what, there is a Gold Fury that I need to make sure I'm aware of, and Snoopy and Zen are taking a little bit of a trade. Unfortunate for Snoopy, doesn't have anything to chase down Zen after that leap, so despite winning the auto attacks, not going to chase that one down even further. But still, that Gold Fury stands tall, even the fact that the Tanuki made a half pull onto it, decided to look for the fight instead.
Gold Fury feels like it could have been the next topic, but Vision Ward, Sentry Ward specifically from Oceans, as well as the Oracle Harpies going the way of the Storm. They've got control of the pit, and might make some feints over there. Zin, low mana, half health, Dashboard's over here. Both of these teams kind of playing, I don't want to call it the slow roll, because they've definitely been fighting a lot more. But haven't had that opening in order to get a lane or a gank to go their way. Will be a Gold Fury pull by the Tanuki. Spotting a couple of backs, knowing they have a little bit of room. They're going for the Fury. Fury secured thanks to the shards of ice. They managed to dodge out. A couple of those stray autos, actually secured by the Bramble Blast.
Of course. Everyone knows the
Of all those things that were thrown out
yeah.
there.
I mean, everyone's aware of the 319 damage from Bramble Blast. I mean, that had to be what was on everyone's
right,
mind.
textbook.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dashboard was simply charging the ultimate just to say, hey, this is how confident I am in my Bramble Blast. Like, I'm just going to do it for some extra DPS in the process. But, unfortunately, once again, the rest of the Storm nowhere in sight, or at least not that close, to try and go for the steal potential. Didn't want a full commit, I'll say, to that objective, because it's not going to be the end of the world. Oceans, however, is going to take a little bit of damage. I couldn't tell, I was going to say, it didn't look like Oceans was walled off, but Kepri is a very large targeter, so was able to slide through there regardless.
Charlie, it's time for the 13-minute check-in. How's the Chungle treating you?
Mentally. I'm happy with the Chungle, because at the very least, Magic Feet is getting active and fighting. Because, again, when the last time I had these complaints about the Chungle, it wasn't like a stall matter. People still were getting active. It was the late game chalk that was doing nothing. It was the same with the Shiva. The Shiva jungle was getting played. You would get to 20, 25 minutes plus.
And then it just not exist.
I mean, you could blink in, hit a 5-man storm call, and you're just like, okay, that was sick. They took 300 damage and are silenced for a bit, but we didn't win the fight off it, so now I don't do anything.
And I'm also now stuck.
And now I'm chalk. So that was the main issue. And it looks like Dashboard going to take a little bit of damage in the process, but not going to be committing to this Ymir. A lot tankier with the Sovereignty and the Witchblade completed.
Yeah, much easier game so far. Remember, it was 3 levels down for Dashboard towards the end of last game. Now 2 levels up over Oceans. Feels a lot better. Pretty much all around. I mean, just straight up, that feels good. You can see that impacting pretty much everywhere with the jungle. A slight lead for the Tanuki with the way they've been playing. That's the jungle slightly behind, but slightly is the key term there. Might not be so slight here if Dame with Blink can get a good collapse. Always difficult to try and lock onto somebody when you're a Nemesis, though. Unless you're willing to commit the Blink, the double dash, the slow, maybe the ult as well, and dive the tower. Like, there's a lot of caveats, a lot of little stars that keep getting thrown up on that. With no Pyromancer, it's always that awkward middle ground when you pass the 12-minute mark, you can't really find the kills because each team is playing safe. But there's nothing to fight over either, so like you can't pull somebody out for a Pyro or pull someone out for a Gold Fury. And I think that's where the Storm find themselves in right now. A team that looks like they want to fight, want to do something, but can't really find the opportunity.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, and I think that Joshi, one of the only members of the Storm who just doesn't care. Like, Joshi's been sitting in mid lane. I haven't seen Joshi make the rotation over in the slightest. Nehu is a level above at the moment, but I've seen this Chiron in mid lane throughout the entirety of this game, essentially, not really trying to get too active at the moment. Unfortunately for Joshi, gonna have to waste some relics, I suppose. I was gonna say falls down, but beautiful ultimate there for Motion. So the res is clean, losing the beats in the process, but will get the ult from Nehu and Dashboard for the time being. But either way, it is okay with just farming up, trying to finish that Titan's Bane, wants to get aggressive in these fights, but, you know, would prefer some itemization first.
You can see with the beads gone, with the Kepri ult gone, I think I personally have to give that small edge over to the Tanuki, despite having dumped 2 ults to find it. It's a good little window for them to maybe stay aggressive. Speaking of aggressive, Magic Feet was looking for something there in the jungle. Don't know if he found what he's looking for or if it found him. Instead, it's going to be a back off for the Tanuki. Pyromancers respawn, and there's a large grouping from the Storm on that side. Dashboard keeps eyes on it, and they're going to be chasing it down half health. Can they kill the Ymir or the objective first? That's going to be the fight between these two. There is the Descent into Madness. Storm get the Pyromancer, and now they're looking for a little bit more. They pick up Dashboard and get a trade finally going in their favor.
Yeah, they're going to pick up the objective and Dashboard in that case, and now grouping up in mid lane is the Storm, looking for this tier 1 tower. Magic Feet and Nehu were looking like they wanted to defend for a second, but actually Oceans is going to die this, take a bunch of damage in the process, but unless Magic Feet blinks to close gap, which he might be able to, I don't see too much more aggression happening. Oceans still getting chunked out. Magic Feet is not going to hit that blink. I guess doesn't want to get the Scarab's blessing out, doesn't know that it's not up at the moment. So possibly could have went in for that aggression, but going to lose the Pyromancer, their support, and the mid-tier 1 as Primal Fury spawning back in here. The Tanuki already showing some face towards it.
Now we have to ask ourselves important questions when we're on broadcast like this. And mine is whether or not it's actually Nehu's birthday, right? Are you falsely rocking the birthday girl title, or is this an actual birthday for Nehu?
I would
That's what matters the
assume
most.
that it's false because I've seen it. I haven't seen Nehu use it, but I've seen it on a lot of different people, and I think it's just nice to feel like a birthday girl, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll know even more on Tuesday because it'll be my birthday. And
Yeah,
I'll
will
be a
you
birthday
put on that
girl.
title, though?
Probably not. I'm not going to be at home.
That's what I'm saying. So,
Oh,
like,
wait, but I will have my Alienware laptop. I can install SMITE, load in, put the title on.
there you go.
I might
and then,
not play because I'm not at home, but
And then if anyone,
have the
if
capability.
anyone sees Gore in game and he's got the birthday girl title,
ask
just
me
know.
what I'm doing because I should be at Disney with my wife.
But it should also be your birthday in that sense. So
Yeah.
tell him happy birthday. Unless,
Tell
of
him
course,
happy
you
birthday.
put it on, forget to take it off, and play weeks
Yeah,
later.
if it's anything that's not the 8th, then throw me out. I'm a liar and a
Oh.
cheat. And if Nehu's a liar and a cheat, then he's learning it the hard way, or at least learning his lesson. Timeout for 50 seconds, a clean kill from the Storm. And Trelly, all jokes aside, you know, the Tanuki have been playing well. Last objective, Fury, goes their way. Sitting about 2,000 gold ahead. The kills still shaking things up in favor of the Storm. And we're just at this point in the game where while the 2,200 gold feels nice, it's not going to be crazy. I mean, you're talking 500-ish, not even 400 for everybody on your team. Maybe tier 1s, maybe some upgraded relics. So definitely a small difference for the Tanuki, but it gets smaller as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely the gold lead is something that the Storm still want to work on. But I gotta say, that is my favorite use of Capriole. I'm not a big fan of the defensive Capriole, like, oh no, you're in trouble, I'll ult you. I like the, yeah, you're losing that 1v1 trade, but what happens when I ult you? They don't want to, like, kill you, and so you get to actually win that fight. So Dame getting to aggressively Capriole, one of my favorite applications. Like, Blink Anubis, he's under Phoenix, getting shredded by 3, but he at least gets the ult off, and then
Yeah.
you just bring it back. Aggressive Capriole's certainly my favorite, and actually Joshy got credit for that kill with the masterful shot from downtown. But either way, the aggression from Dame as well as the support from Oceans is able to confirm that kill onto a, at the time, pretty fed Cernanos. Nehu had, I believe, a level lead, and now Joshy's been able to catch up and surpass the Cernanos in the mid lane. But Duo also looking pretty clean. Snoopy's up 2 levels over in my Zen. And Dashboard also has a level lead over Ocean. So the Tanuki have been able to keep that XP certainly in their favor as well as the gold. But as you mentioned, the fighting, I think, has certainly been in the favor of the Xibalba Storm. But considering there's no objectives up, and actually Snoopy rotates over to Fire Giant currently, we might be able to see a little bit of a brawl here.
Double Hunter for both of these squads. We talked about it earlier today. We talked about it earlier this set. With the amount of burn that you can have, even lacking something like an AMC, can really, really enable your team for some of these objectives. Fury's down for another 2.5 minutes, so you got plenty of time. Sorry, 2 minutes. Plenty of time to work with on the right-hand side. Pyromancer will be back faster than that, but it's Fire Giant that is the topic at hand. Burned down. I mean, insanely fast, but they barely secure that one. Close call for the Tanuki, and now they have to get a little bit more. They kill Dame afterward. They're going to burn through Delny as well. It's a 2-for-none trade. Looking for more. Maybe making it 3 as Joshy just cannot escape this fate. It's going to be a nice res from Oceans, but might just pull him right back into the waiting arms.
Wow.
Make it 4 for the Tanuki plus the Fire Giant on 5. And what a play for the Order side team.
I mean, Snoopy comes over with this full crit build, has the Deathbringer, absolutely destroys that Fire Giant. Delny gets body blocked to all hell. There's no way getting out. Dame actually did an explosive amount of damage in the backline, but I'm assuming...
They win? No way.
thought they were going to have a little bit of the support from the Capriole. Did not that game, so Dame just goes down. And in my Zen, didn't even make the rotation. Almost got deleted trying to defend that mid Phoenix. And now Dame's back to try and make sure no more aggression comes through. But that Phoenix is absolutely gone. And the Tanuki are just barreling this gold lead. 8,000 in their favor off the back of a ton of aggression. Now they're able to retreat here as the Pyromancer spawns back in, as well as Oni Fury is going to be up here shortly as well. That was quite a quick fight because of the damage coming from Snoopy as well as the rest of the Tanuki. And I'm down to see the full reset here, and then Oni Fury into left towers now.
Very clean so far, Fire Giant for the Tanuki. Granted, when your Fire Giant starts with 4 kills, it should be clean, right? I mean, it is well played by them to make that call as early as they did, as aggressively as they did. 10,000 gold, just a little shy. And you know what, Trelly? They'll make up for that difference. That 9,000 is going to turn to 10,000 pretty quick. Fucking Gold Fury, or Primal Fury, I should say, taken down. How about none of those? Oni Fury, as it gets taken down. Oh, and the Tanuki are going to start their siege. You had mentioned it, the left side towers.
Base race.
No way this goes further beyond.
Do it.
They're going to go for the Phoenix here. Honestly, there's no reason not to.
Oh, they're going for the base race.
But they're going for the end on the other side.
You got her back. There's no way you beat that.
So much. Yeah, the Titan exposed.
Then they stopped again. They're going for the Phoenix again.
They stopped the back when they retreated. Delny in 3. Phoenix on the right going down.
Joshy got the bird.
I can't believe this, but the Storm, despite the Fire Giant on the other side, at least not only save their game from falling, but at least make the Phoenix's match. This fight might determine a lot. That Phoenix is down on the left-hand side. Delny, though, surging forward. Good knock-up. Now with the win condition open, the Storm are in an interesting spot. There's a 2-man knock-up again from Delny. Doesn't feel like they're going to be able to get anything here. Instead, it's a retreat. Delny's ult's going to be wasted in this regard. 2 down on the side of the Storm, and now the bird is there from the Tanuki. Great res coming out from Oceans. Make sure to keep the Cthulhu in this fight, but can they find enough to make sure this defense happens? Pillar of Agony pulls in 1, gets enough damage onto another. It's a double kill for Nehu, and the Tanuki are looking at game number 3, and they're looking happy about it. They're going to push us on, and this set's going to go to the distance.
Yeah, that was a beautiful wall there for Dashboard, making sure to close in Delany and Dame into the Pillar of Agony. Just a completely night and day difference between game number 1 and game number 2 here for the Yomi Tanuki. Same gold lead though, about 11,000, just flip-flop, this time in favor of the Tanuki. And I think the itemization change for Dashboard just made him so much harder to kill. Like, no more Mail of Renewal, just Sov into Witchblade, so much different, as well as just the aggression from the Chalk. The rest of the team was able to actually get active and stop the aggression from the Xibalba Storm as well. I mean, just a complete difference. Props to the Tanuki for being able to bounce back, because that's not easy.
Yeah, and then, of course, the Tanuki banning the tier. I might even say the most MVP out of that one, because the Cthulhu did not provide quite as much in terms of CC. Still a really solid fight back on the other side, and maybe a little wiggle room at the end if that fight goes differently. Maybe we're having a different conversation, but the Tanuki tie things up here, 1-1. We'll see if they can maybe take the win, or if the Storm are going to be able to answer back in a loud fashion. We'll find out right after this quick break. Welcome back, everyone, to what will be the last game of the day, guaranteed, because somebody is going to win, well, not right now, but here in a couple of minutes when we start game number 3. But first, we got to talk about game number 2. It's Gore, it's Trelly, and again, the way things shake out there for the Tanuki as they find themselves a win. And Trelly, a lot of that one is... just not even a reverse of game number 1. They just find their way in. They go back for a majority of the exact same draft on both sides. And the Tanuki, unfortunately for the Storm, play it a lot better, a lot cleaner. That tier pick being banned away really, I think, kind of stripped the Storm of their power. And as weird as it is to say it, the Chalk Jungle, getting active early on, helped out a ton.
It certainly did, and I think Dashboard was on point with the walls, which shut down a lot of what the Storm were trying to do. I mean, the Ymir pick, it didn't get much value in game number 1, but running it back in game number 2, the walls certainly were forcing out a lot. And as you said, this Chalk getting active from the start was definitely a game changer as well. Something that I didn't expect to work late game, but when you have such a lead, it doesn't really matter. And this Fire Giant was the game changer. I mean, Snoopy rotates over so far ahead, deletes the Fire Giant in seconds, and then Delny gets stuck by the wall, and it was just, from then on out, it was all Tanuki all the time, right? They just had such a lead, and they were never really afraid. They were able to go in and walk into these objectives. You know, Phoenix Sieges usually aren't the easiest, but when you have such a lead, it didn't look like they were ever off the gas pedal for the rest of the game.
Yeah, definitely something I think that really just kind of struggled to deal with if you're looking at the Storm. I think that maybe is the perfect example, right? Delny, that ultimate feels like it could have gone big, fell flat on its face. Oceans, throws out the res, saves the solo laner. But at what cost, right? You keep the Cthulhu alive, who can't do too much. Nothing else is really going to go your way. An unfortunate performance. I mean, look, undying game for Xin. 0-4 there for Oceans. Not a lot of kills that ended up happening there for the Tanuki. Just better objective play, better map play. Leads to a very comfortable lead. It's still kind of 50-50 and scared me a little bit on the Fire Giant, if I'm honest. But they were able to make their way there. Much, much lower damage than game number 1. And now the question, Trelly, is what happens? I mean, obviously they play Smite again.
Yeah, we know that much.
The picks and bans have me, Metal Gear Solid question mark above my head. Like, what's going on? I guess that's more exclamation point. But now it's the same concept, but we've curved it a little because I do not know where these teams are going to go with their drafts.
Yeah, that's a good concern because I have the same one, right? Because it was, it started out as a possible full salty run back, and then we saw a little bit of changes. The tier being taken away,
ruined it. Yeah.
I think was a pretty big deal. So
is.
that's something. That is something that I expect to see once again. That tier being taken away. But besides that, if I'm the Storm, I don't know what I'm taking away from the Tanuki strap. They're like the Cernanos, maybe. Like, was that something? The Ymir certainly could be something, but you dealt with it in game number 1, so do you really want to go back and say, we can't really deal with it anymore? One thing we do know is that Tanuki's going to be first pick once again for the 3rd time, so that's about it. That's all we know.
So lock in the Hades. We already know where we're going from here.
That's true.
It's been consistent the whole time. We'll see if the bands stay consistent this whole time as well. Guess what? Guan Yu, Thor, Amuz, and Cobb all sound familiar. Neith sounds, I think, familiar.
Yep. No, this is the changer. There's number 1,
tier.
And
so that's a nice one. Yamoja, I would have to assume. No, the Hades.
Wow, there it is. So we do see changes.
Still available. Oh man, for the first time this set, I don't know what's about to happen. This could be anything. That's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought there was another Y God that maybe would have taken precedence. The Ymir locked in for the Tanuki. Again, game number 1 fell behind. Game number 2 got ahead. We'll see where it ends up this time around. Chiron's the lock-in. Kepri has been the accompaniment to this god. Yamoja's available. They don't need a tank. It feels like there's a lot of options for you. They go for the Ishtar above all else.
Yeah, I don't think taking a support there is a necessity because the Ymir's already taken, and Yamoja or Kabrakan are not being grabbed here for the Tanuki. So just wanting to grab that Ishtar for themselves, wanting to make sure that they get that into the hands of, you got to assume, Zen, and more specifically not in the hands of Snoopy, which is probably a smart call. And the Erlang Shen, that was banned away last time, actually going to be locked in here, I'm assuming, for Magic Feet in the jungle. So no more jungle. We get to see the Erlang once again, who I think there's a few players in the SPL that will not let Erlang jungle die as well, like Panatom really likes the Erlang despite all these nerfs it's taken. And there's going to be the Yamoja ban or grab. Because again, if they don't grab it now, probably going to be banned away.
Yeah, have to grab it before the next phase of bans, which, by the way, starts now. See what these teams can do. Double Hunter on both sides. Well, so far, Double Hunter on one side has been the call for both sides up to this point. Poseidon gets banned away. The Ratatosker. The Vulcan as well. Poseidon feels like more of a long shot from what I've seen, except for like 2 teams that keep playing it. Kraken's always really good and really helpful, though. And when you look at the team comp they have, feels very susceptible to a Whirlpool. And they lock in the Osiris, which, again, go back to the beginning of this, and we were talking about the fact that in highlight reels, I think it was actually the Tanuki that had a lot of Osiris plays, despite the fact that he hasn't really been around for a while.
Yeah, I want to see exactly what other pick comes through with that Osiris, because Osiris is one of those characters that likes to dive, and I think does actually succeed into Double Hunter, right? I think the tether just gets a lot of value there. You're constantly slowing and being annoying in the backline. But who are you diving with? So far, no one. Now I get to see it's Kakolin, so that opens up a little bit more of an avenue there, so probably Osiris in the jungle.
Yeah.
Going to be that full auto attack style build, maybe some hybrid items, that sort of thing. And I think that actually is pretty solid because it's usually, that was the yin and yang for a bit. Remember Erlang Shen and Osiris, they were the 2 top junglers, but both have received tremendous nerfs and haven't been that prominent in the jungle as of recent, so going to be interesting, as well as the Camazotz coming through. I'm assuming for Snatty in the solo lane, and that's a pick that's always going to be scary.
It's going to be interesting to watch how this one can shake out.
Yep.
I feel like I've been transported to a different meta again, because Erlang Shen, Camazotz versus Osiris, Kakolin feels very, I guess, opening Season 9, Season 8, really, for a lot of it. We'll see which of these teams can play the old a little bit better in the new. And that is new, N-E-W. There's no other letters in there, no other spelling, anything like that. Tanuki Taking on the Storm, winner take all, moves up in the standings. Loser gets knocked down at least one bump. We'll see how it ends up shaking out after the last set that gets played out on Sunday after the SPL. Maybe some aggression early on. But Snoopy is going to be on a very safe pick over here. You got double Hunter for both sides once again, Trelly. And it feels like this one, I don't even know where to start. My eyes keep going to the Osiris in the jungle, so I guess that's where it's going to be. And I'll ask the simple question, can it work? And I think the answer, especially based on Magic Feet getting a steal.
What do you even do about that?
So
he hide, okay.
If he backs, it gets spotted.
Yeah, the back animation was too big, so he's like, I literally have to hide here, then back. That is so annoying. I'm actually mad that I just witnessed that, and I feel bad for Dame, because now you're just level 1. I mean, you're just a level 1 Osiris. What do you do in the meantime? You go steal some farm from your mid laner or take green buff, I suppose. Magic Feet goes for the cheeky play, and it works out for him. Now remember, there is another start where junglers start over at speed buff with the mid laner. And I'm assuming because Dame and Joshi have done the red buff start so many times that Magic Feet knew he could make that call. But what if they just randomly decided to start speed, found out the Erlong, and they're like, wait, you're at, you got Invader's Curse, and we're just going to run you down with Mannequin Scepter.
Yeah, they just kill him.
Didn't work out. And the Tanuki have, I mean, they're actually down at the moment, but at the very least, a little bit of a lead in jungle.
That's always... I understand it because I know like stealing the enemy team's buff isn't as much worthwhile to you as the other side. Maybe they'll get first blood here though. Dashboard, not much you can do about that one. Slowed all to hell in your Ymir with nothing much to do at level 1 beyond that. So a nice early gank from Dame. Maybe make it up for the speed buff on the other side.
Yeah, I saw Dame channel the back immediately to make sure that he'd be there for his own speed buff that's spawning in here shortly. He said, this is not going to become a habit. I am going to be here before the speed buff even spawns in because I don't want it to be stolen consistently. Whereas Magic Feet more so convinced there could be a kill opportunity onto Delny as this Rage transformation comes through. Once it does come through, Salmon Leap will be available, but the Magic Feet actually over on the blue buff, and here comes Dame as well. I'm assuming the Tanuki know that there's going to be an Osiris with Mannequin Scepter on the way. But Delny's pretty weak. Can't help out too much.
Dame doing his best to stay alive. Make sure that things don't go awry. Delny, I should say, maybe doing his best to stay alive, because at this point, he's the one who's in a little more danger. Joshy's rotating over, though. Maybe acting as bait here is Delny. There's going to be one kill, and they're looking for another. Autos are there. Masterful Shot comes out. The slow is good. The pin off the mark. Slows down Dame and Joshy enough while they juke it out. But a dash forward, something like that from Joshy could go massive. They don't seem to have it. Magic Feet, not going to get away with murder. They still get a kill on the side of the Storm, but it should have been a lot more.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Joshy's choked that. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I heard giddy up, and then I saw it cancel. So I'm assuming that was either a fat finger or an insta-cancel on the giddy up, assuming that maybe Magic Feet would just die or something. I'm not sure, but definitely could have chased down that Erlong a bit longer, hit a few more auto attacks, and then go for the Masterful Shot, which would have gotten the slow, but fired the Masterful Shot during the turtle. Slow doesn't come through, and Magic Feet gets out for free in that situation. I guess not totally free because you lose your solo laner in the process. But I think Delny got away with murder in that situation because of the rotation from Joshy. The Kukulkan not only doesn't die, gets their own blue buff, and lives to tell the tale. Not only that, but gets the kill in the process. So now Delny going to be sitting pretty okay in this lane, whereas Snatty's going to have some trouble trying to stay alive, especially a level, well, I'm not a level down, but at least a kill down. Actually, Snatty doesn't care. I might even go for a solo kill. Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it turns that one on its head pretty fast as it turns out. The Kukulkan's still struggling a little bit. Hasn't backed yet, though. Now should be able to pick up something strong. I mean, at this point, yeah, you're talking tier 3 full purchase. And it's a Contagion, helping to deal with some of the healing on the other side. And then an immediate teleport right back in. And that might be the difference maker all of a sudden. You know, you had mentioned it, like Snatty was controlling the lane because he was not a level down, the kill down. Now you feel the itemization coming into play. And I think that's where Delny's advantage is going to start to show itself.
Yeah, Dame's sitting level 5 here. Whereas Snoopy and Dashboard not quite having access to ultimates. Once that wave gets cleared, will certainly tick over to level 5, and that'll help out the fight for purple, but not spawning in just yet. Finally, it looks like it will spawn in. So Snoopy and Dashboard definitely going to lose that. But Min-My-Zen wants the 1v1 opportunity. 1v2, I should say. Goes for the ultimate. Low health bars, but Dame blinks through.
What? Over the wall into the tower this early on?
Didn't even ult.
Did not ult. Did not feel pressured out to get to safety. Gets a lot of good damage in the process. An interesting play from both Zin and from Dame. And I don't blame them for taking it. I mean, look at the amount of pressure they've gotten. Even forces the ult out of Snoopy, the ult out of Dashboard. Sorry, Dashboard hadn't even gotten his yet. Well played by the Storm, who are taking charge of the game right now. Unable to steal the Greater Scorpion. Might not be able to get away here. Good wall from the Tanuki. Keeps Oceans blocked in. There's a taunt. Oceans virtually untouched as far as health bars go, and now it's a resurgence from the Storm. They've got the aggression. They've got the slow. Dashboard has nowhere to go. And the question is whether or not they continue this chase or they let it fall. It seems like the Storm want a little more. Snatty takes a long way around. Back to lane, slowed down. Looked like Emoja might have gone in a way to try and cut that off, but with no ult. Riptide not at the greatest angle. The Tanuki are going to only lose one in the grand scheme.
Yeah, the grand scheme of things, but now it looks like Ocean's
Maybe
waiting
two.
for this one. Magic Feet is going to get ulted on, but missed the Lord of the Afterlife. One sickle will do it. The slow comes
gotta hit
through.
him.
And Dame is going to be just fine for the time being unless Snatty makes some lucky rotation over. Not going to be the case. Snatty is no idea there's a free kill waiting at his blue buff right now.
And in fact, might be in trouble himself, going for Delny. No heals from the Emoja, lands here, minions doing a little bit of work. This is a massive turnaround. Riptide actually might have stripped that kill from Delny.
I was going to say,
more than
Salmon Leap was
saved
coming
him.
up. I wanted to see the Salmon
Oh,
Leap
no.
in. I guess Oceans didn't want that chance to come
Yeah.
through. Because it was a bit of a toss-up anyways, right? I mean, maybe just trying to slow the aggression. Dashboard and Snoopy going to make a pull. I don't imagine this goes well. In my Zen, going to ult over the wall. But, oh, Magic Feet's here. This could be free now.
Yeah, they've got the rotation. Shots from the wall. Chiron going to be ringing through. Nope, not even going to have the ult in time. So unfortunate for them. But despite all of that, it's an Erlong Shin basic attack. Of all things, the 63 damage. Just enough, you know, to send the Gold Fury over the edge. Good early call from the Tanuki after a pretty disastrous 4-0 swing for the Storm. It's been a bunch of single kills, single picks. Still, too much maybe to handle. They do something to help right the ship.
Yeah, definitely a smart call, just recognizing they had the presence to do so. In my Zen did everything he could do, I feel, in trying to steal away that Gold Fury, and even had the wrap around there, so got a little bit aggressive in the process and holds on to the beads. I think that's the biggest part. But now it's time to see what comes from this. It's only 8 minutes into the game. Pyromancer hasn't even spawned in yet, and Gold Fury's already been taken. So lead-wise, certainly still in favor of the Storm. Because that gold's down, that does give some breathing room over the Tanuki to try and, you know, get some itemization on their side while still staying safe on this side of the map. Haven't seen too much aggression from Magic Feet, but maybe because Delany's so pushed up here, we can finally see a little bit of fighting. Snatty's getting weak, though.
Yeah, not going to be able to find too much with that taunt. The healing will be nice, but like you said, Snatty low already. Magic Feet stunned out, and there's the anti-heal as well. The damage is good, and Dame changes that gank around on the spot. Keeps it a 5-0 lead for the Storm.
Yeah, the 9 turns Blessing Heal doesn't come through when Dame does land that ultimate. Dashboard made the rotation and didn't hit much, and now Snatty could be in some trouble. Bat Out of Hell is not available. Good leap, though. Might be enough to keep Snatty alive, unless Oceans has something to say about it, and he doesn't. Oh, the Dame's going to be able to confirm that one, though, and Dame falls down to Dashboard.
Oh, no, the overcommit, the overdive, maybe. Delny might be in a position where he's lucky to get out of this one. The freeze is good.
Wave's almost here.
Carpet's not there. No mana for Dashboard. Ocean's only had enough for the one heal. There's the walls. You've got a little bit of assistance coming over here. Dancing around the walls. Just dancing around to stay alive. Magic Feet comes back from the grave. And they're going to turn 2 around there. Maybe biting off a little more than they can chew for the Storm.
Yeah, unfortunate for Delany. If there wasn't like the Mystical Mail ticking damage coming through, would have been able to just walk through with those minions, but because he kept constantly hitting Dashboard for like 7 damage, that tower would have definitely one-shot him. And, you know, props to Oceans for not letting him die in vain. did drop the ultimate, tried to help out in that process, but was not able to help out. And I guess Magic Feet gets the first kill on the board as well. A little bit of a scrap over in left lane, though, in my Zen. Not going to be letting Snoopy back for free. As I want to see, like I said, the Pyromancer spawns in here in about 5 seconds. I would not hate if it looked like the Tanuki were going to go for an insta-pull. Magic Feet and Dashboard are going to be DPSing it on spawn in, and here comes Nehu as well. Unless Day makes it over here in time, which he definitely could. It looks like, yeah, might be able to go for the 50-50 or at least a stall. Josh is in range as well.
Good wall, though. Buy some space. Tanuki secure that one for themselves. 2 neutral objectives in their favor, despite the kills not being quite there yet. But the last 2 kills being spot on for the Tanuki as well. Makes it feel like the Storm, again, solid early grip that might be slipping at this point. 10:30 in the game. Trelly, we're back to this kind of neutral area, a minute 30 until the Gold Fury spawns back up. Experience is ever so slightly in favor of the Tanuki, but gold is virtually equal between these 2 teams right now. Solo kill. Maybe even an assisted kill if we can see specifically Oceans get over here in time. Doesn't seem like the speed will be enough. There's potential for the Storm to try and find a little more, but it's all falling apart for them as far as their early game into mid-game shifts go.
Yeah, Trebuchet is coming down left side, though. Doesn't seem like it's going to get too much value. If Snoopy was aggressed upon on this side of the map, then yeah, I'd understand why it was even sent through. But with Oni Fury spawning in here shortly, I just imagine it would have got more value if the Storm held on to it until that Oni Fury came up, you know, force someone to go over and defend. But Snoopy's going to be able to take that one for free. Someone might have accidentally sent it. I know I've done that a few times where the Trebuchet is just sitting there in your path to lane. But Dame is on the way over, despite the fact that a lot of safety over from this duo lane, especially with the wall and Snoopy having that whirlpool. So it looks like no more aggression on this side of the map. Oni Fury's going to be spawned in here shortly, about 20 seconds or so. And that's pretty much it. As you said, it's a relatively even game. No one's really looking to get too aggressive, possibly waiting to get second relics online. Dame a level away from that, and Magic Feet 2 levels from grabbing a possible beads in that slot, which I imagine both these junglers would love. As these warriors that have taken some nerfs in the past, you want to be as safe as possible when trying to set up for your team, and the beads would help that a ton.
A ton.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see if the Fury can help a lot here. Oceans makes it past the wall, throws up some walls of his own. Fury's getting low. Tanuki secure that one, but they have to get out of here. Dashboard's low. Should be a kill for the Storm. Snoopy doing his best to get away. Ma channeled. And that's going to be a lot of CC immunity and a good amount of disengage so that the Tanuki are able to get the objective. They lose Dashboard, but they get out with their lives.
That seems to be the call for the Tanuki, right? Consistently getting these objectives, then leave. You know, you're going to lose a bit in the process, but you're going to keep that gold relatively even. Magic Feet tries to go for the ult, gets canceled out, not actually channeled in that sense, so the taunt doesn't come through. Could have been some trouble for Joshi if that taunt connected, but had beads and Aegis a label, so I guess not too worried. And with Oceans around, health is never too far away as well with the sustain from this Umoja. But because we just saw the Fury go down, Gore, I don't imagine there's going to be too much aggression from this point onward. I mean, whenever Snoopy gets aggressed upon, he runs away Whirlpool form. It's usually pretty safe over in left lane. I mean, Dame and Magic Feet have stepped up to these fights, but haven't committed too much as of recent, especially when there's nothing real to fight over.
Yeah, with the Gold Fury getting pulled, burned as fast as it did, Pyromancer as well, hasn't been a lot of opportunity to try and get the fight going, right? I mean, it's getting insta-gibbed almost by the Tanuki. Granted, 50-50, I would say maybe twice in a row. Maybe 60-40 around the Pyromancer. Joshi taking a little bit of poke. There's a good taunt. Catches the dash, the pin as well right afterward. The damage is awesome from Magic Feet. And it's able to find one almost. Gets turned around. Will end up dying, just not to Joshi. Zen with a big rotation finds one. Looking for Dashboard. Slows aren't good enough. Dash forward from Zen. Autos don't find home all the way. And Dashboard walks away with a sliver of HP.
I imagine that's going to be worth it there for the Tanuki. Like, they did lose a bit in the process, but Magic Feet trades his life for the 0-0 Joshi, who was worth a little bit of extra gold there, whereas Magic Feet's already fallen 3 times. You're going to be happy with getting out in that situation. But still, I mean, I'm surprised. I guess it was just because you lose Beads Aegis on Joshi. You're pretty happy with taking that trade. As Snatty chunking out Delany, but does proc that Rage transformation. Bat out of hell available, so Snatty not too afraid trying to fight this one. But does take a lot from Dame and Delany. And I imagine with the sustain from this Camazot's not afraid to try and push up here. Dashboard's also making that rotation over just in case. A clutch wall might net a kill. Doesn't look like it's going to be the call. And that's pretty much it. Gold still in favor of the Tanuki despite losing 3-8 in kills.
Yeah, the kills haven't been going their way. They've picked up everything else in the process. Speaking of everything else, guess what they're waiting on? Pyromancer. It's going to spawn in. Given the recent MO, they're going to burn it down really quick. Then Dashboard or someone's going to die right afterward. We'll see if that kill can even happen. Tanuki just get the Pyro. And not a thing to be said for the Storm. And so now we're starting to approach. Again, at this point in the game, that 2000 still felt roughly, but it's this weird balancing act right now where the Tanuki, as a team, are ahead. But until the Fire Giant comes up, it doesn't feel like they've got the lead because of the way the kills have been going, the fights have been going. So maybe something else to wait for, something else to look forward to if you're watching. And also something that I'm anticipating, because some of these objectives have not secured my confidence in their capability to pull them.
Yeah, I would say so. And the other thing is, like, you can usually get a pretty good flow from how a team fight's going to look by how the early game goes. Like, oh, they're looking for, trying to pick this Yomi, or oh, they're trying to look to get aggressive over in duo lane, or oh, Snoopy's getting chunked over this tower and he's got to run, that sort of thing. The Tanuki have been the first ones to these objectives. Their gold lead is certainly in their favor.
Yeah.
But their fight strategy is still yet to be seen. I have to imagine, because there's no blink on dashboard, it's going to be the Snatty and Magic Feet engage, who are currently sitting just fine XP-wise. I guess more so Snatty level up on Adelny, level 16 on the Camazots. But, is that enough dive to open up the backline? It's still yet to be seen. Farm can only get you so far, Gore. You gotta get some kills eventually. But Tanuki know that, and they're playing as safe as possible up until they feel confident enough to make a pull onto that Fire Giant.
We're seeing a whole variety of builds, though, across all the carries. Not one of them identical. We've got a heavy lean into crit from Nehu, what looks like it's about to be a heavier lean into crit from Zin, with an Executioner sprinkled in. A little more ability-based from Joshi, makes sense from what we've seen in the last few games, and then standard auto attacks coming down from Snoopy. So a few different builds.
And even the Warrior jungles are different.
Even the Warrior jungles are rocking different items. We'll see how well that works out for him. Great knock-up from Delny for an engage, and now it's the chase down for the Storm, but it is not going well. Dame bites off more, too much alone, and unfortunately just taken down like it's nothing. Good turnaround. It's one, it's two. Maybe looking for a little bit more. The Tanuki able to pull that so heavily in their favor. The Fury spawns up, and they've been burning these pretty easily. Low health bars might put a pause on it, but they are in control over the Storm.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Gold Fury doesn't come through. I mean, the Primal Fury pull rather doesn't come through because of the amount of sustain that not only the Xibalba Storm have, sure, but the Tanuki seem to all be getting healed up. I mean, Snoopy's got the Dev Gauntlets. Of course, Magic Feet had to back up, but besides that, we saw the Nehu was healing up off the red buff. I guess it was the objective smart call, and more specifically, it looks like Fire Giant is on the card, so that's the real reason the Tanuki didn't care about that Fury. They wanted to go for this objective. No ADCs on this side of the map, both over on left, so this is a true 50-50. Once Oceans and Zen spotted out, immediately just going to be retreating here. I was going to say Joshi and Snoopy still over in left, where I guess Joshi made the rotation over to left, whereas in my Zen, what goes over to Fire Giant for the time being. But not going to be a Primal Fury, not even going to be a Fire Giant. Full reset for both teams, whereas Snoopy actually stuck around, maybe trying to get this tier 1 tower.
Yeah, it's that awkward, if you stick to that Fire Giant, it's like what you said. A true 50-50, and man, I don't want to bet the set and the standings on a true 50-50 around the MG.
The Storm do.
Oh, the Storm apparently do. Yeah, they're feeling confident. Pull the Fire Giant, take down 1/3 of its HP bar. Snatty deep into the back onto Zin. There's the bat out of hell, and the chase down is good, and it's good enough to get the kill as well. Snatty able to find one for the opener now, just the disengage. Great leap, dodges out a lot of CC from the Storm, and it might only be a 1-for-none pick. But it closes that gap. It was 8-3, is now 8-6. What was 2,000 gold is now ballooned into 4K for the Tanuki. The Fire Giant sitting on the horizon.
Yeah, that was a 3-0 shutdown there for Snatty onto In My Zen. The majority, I guess not the majority, a little less than half of the kills for the Xibalba Storm sitting on In My Zen. So that was a pretty good shutdown and an extra boon in gold for sure for Snatty on this Camazotz. Primal Fury finally goes down, of course, by the Tanuki. If it's an objective this game, it was probably pulled by the Tanuki. At least that's been the pattern thus far. But because Snoopy's over on the left side of the map, because Magic Feet also sitting over by that purple buff, I don't imagine a Fire Giant pull's coming anytime soon. At least for the time being, just, you know, based off of what the Tanuki have been trying to do on this map. They do have a bunch of burn for that objective, even without Snoopy. Like, Magic Feet and Snatty still do a ton to that objective with the way they build. I mean, Snatty's essentially full damage. Like, Blackthorn and Glad Shield are still giving you a good bit of physical power. Like, this is by all means, a very damage-dealing Camazotz solo. But it looks like Snoopy is now making that rotation over. Check out In My Zen, still stuck over in left lane. This Fire Giant and or Pyromancer is going to be shredded down pretty quickly. And it's Fire Giant.
Yeah, I was waiting to see which one was going to be pulled. Pyro seems the easier, faster of the two. Then again, when you're going to shred Fire Giant this fast, why bother with its little baby brother, Tanuki? Don't even have to 50-50 that one. There's no one from the Storm anywhere nearby. Fights starting to collapse on the Chaos side. The Tanuki, 5 strong, able to move forward. Only 5 towers they have to burn down, which seems like a lot, but with the Fire Giant and the way they've been playing, I have to imagine they're about to make quick work of most of the objectives on the board for the Storm.
It looks like just the tier 2 towers for now. I mean, In My Zen is going to be able to grab the tower over and left, so that's going to be the smart call for sure. And once again, left it with 3 archers. I was worried for a second that it wasn't going to go down just because we've been talking about it. Snoopy and Snatty, though, split off from the team, definitely by themselves. I guess incredibly safe on Charybdis and Camazotz, so not really worried about being this far up. Could just go into the Bat Out of Hell and Whirlpool respectively if the rest of the team came through. But Minions extremely pushed up over in left lane. You're going to have to go all the way back to your own Phoenix if you're trying to grab these tier 1 and tier 2 towers. So probably a smart call to go for the full reset, get some items purchased in the process. Tainted Breastplate, upgraded there for Snatty. A Kin Size online for Magic Feet. Death's Temper online for Nehu. So a lot of power spikes here for the Yomi Tanuki. I don't imagine the kills will keep looking in the favor of the Xibalba Storm if the Tanuki have their way with this left side Phoenix. But
the fight breaks out.
Yeah, considering the fact that you got, what, 2 minutes, 30 seconds left, the Storm need to decide, are we defending this Phoenix, or are we defending this tier 2 tower? Probably not. Snatty just barreling forward, not a care in the world.
Double taunt from Magic Feet. Snatty with the chase down. Seems like it could be good. Doesn't go for Dame. Lets him fall. It's because they can just kill Oceans. But no, the shell. Just enough shielding. Gets Oceans out of there and keeps them alive. Well played by the Storm to make sure nobody falls. They had to use a couple of relics there from their support to make sure things stay alive. Left side tier 2 gone. All 6 towers from the Storm gone. The Tanuki knocking on the door of the Phoenixes, trying to figure out a way in. This is always the awkward moment. 1:45 left on the power play with the FG. And they're waiting on their minion waves.
I think that was definitely a big play there. The fact that Magic Feet wastes 9 turns Blessing and Blink and don't grab the kill onto Oceans. I mean, Oceans is still there to just completely shut off the Phoenix with River's Rebuke, as well as the fact that the best engage that the Tanuki have off the back of Magic Feet is gone. Looks like Oceans is going to be a target for the time being, taking a little bit of damage, but really not too much. Dashboard getting the worst of it, and Phantom Shell comes through.
A lot of damage thrown over there towards Ocean. You had mentioned that the Shell keeping things safe and comfortable for the Tanuki. Now moving forward, there's going to be the engage. Nice knock up again from Delny, but last time this happened, it worked exactly like this. Burned down by the Tanuki. The Cucullin doesn't have much to offer. Snoopy spends a lot of time under the ground, comes back up, and gets a double kill. The jungler, the solo laner for the Storm, off the board. Phoenix left side gone, and now it's a surge forward. Ocean's locked down, pinned, taunted, killed by Magic Feet. And with the Titan exposed, Fire Giant still on all 5. Feels like it should be just the end. Yeah, go for it. And win this set, the Tanuki are going to take it in 3.
They could not decide whether that Phoenix or this Titan looked more appetizing. Turns out the rest of the Xibalba Storm are what they wanted first. And as I predicted, 11-8. They got ahead in kills finally. It took a bit, took a couple minutes or so, but they were able to get ahead in kills. The gold, they were looking crisp. I mean, the Tanuki objective game, I got no complaints. You know, they were playing as well as you can, but the fights beforehand need a little bit of work. I guess they weren't really concerned about the fights because they knew their late game was going to be just fine. I mean, Snoopy didn't do much until late game, but he's like, hey, I'm Charybdis. Let me get level 20 and I'll do plenty. That's all I really need to do. As well as Nehu, they had a pretty solid 1-2 punch there from the double ADCs.
I think the real MVP, the tier in the ban column.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the only, like, from game 1 to game 2, that's what changes the most. And the absolute shellacking that the Tanuki received originally to what they were able to dish out there in games 2, and then definitely here in game 3 makes a big difference. Good kills, though, coming down from the Storm. Unfortunately, just to fall flat. Little moments like this, right? You look at this as a big turnaround point, and it doesn't feel like much, but it's just such a deep dive from the Storm. And that's a really good starting point because that's where the kills started to roll out. You can see 7 is the stagnant portion for the Storm. And they got one more, Trelly, and that was it for the rest of the game.
If that second Centaurus shot hits and Josh got the revive, that could have been a completely different game as well. That was a really desperation play by the Tanuki that ended up working out this time as well. When Dame consistently was going to the backline on those Osiris, but wasn't able to find those trades that you'd love to see from your jungler. And Snatty, despite falling 0-2 early on, was getting real aggressive in the backline. So much damage coming from this Camazotz, as well as it didn't seem like they had any answers for the Camazotz in the late game, right? It was just consistent backline as well as batted to hell just for that extra safety. That's all they really needed.
Yeah, and when you get 8 unanswered kills as the team that was, I'm going to put it in quotes, behind, because you were behind only in kills. Gold, well played by the Tanuki, the Fury, the Pyromancer, all of those plays, all of their objective calls. And incredibly strong. Got to talk and shout out Dashboard. Just one small change in build as to where some of these items were getting expedited.
Yep.
From game 1 to game 2 suddenly makes the tank a lot more present. And when you're filling in for the shoes of someone like Heroin, you've got to be able to step in pretty big. And I think they did so here in an important set for the Tanuki. Also want to shout out Nehu, because while 1-0 maybe doesn't seem that great, it was 1-0-8. And so very big impact, second highest damage on the team. Snatty, of course, being Camazotz, just kind of did the Camazotz thing.
Yeah, again, it didn't seem like there was too many answers for the Camazotz. I mean, it's one of those solo picks that it's hard to ever try and focus out because, you know, whenever we get aggressive on Cama, he's just going to fly up into the air. But either way, Delaney was trying to match that pressure. You know, we saw a consistent blink, ult, big knock-up, and then just freeze dead. I mean, it's so difficult to live.
Stop.
Yeah, when these double ADCs just start both focusing you at the same time, you know, once that Executioner proc comes through, it's very difficult to try and live through that one. And I don't envy the position that the Storm were in tank-wise for trying, because once Delaney's, as you said, tier got banned away, wasn't able to find that same amount of success.
Well, we came into today with some massive ties in the standings, and we're going to be leaving today with a couple of shifts that have come through. And of course, if you've been watching, we did 2 in Europe, 2 in North America. The 2-1 we just watched, closing out the SCC for today. If you want to catch the 3rd set of Europe and the 3rd set of North America, stay tuned after the SPL on Saturday and on Sunday, and you'll be able to see those finalized and the last sets of the SCC that we'll see until we hit the Road to Worlds talk in December. So a little over a month before you'll see most of these teams playing, save for this weekend where they'll be taking each other on. And now, of course, where the standings are shifting. The Weavers still at the bottom, no way to climb up any higher. The Sages and the Tanuki now in 2nd and 3rd a little more solidly. The Wardens, who will be taking on the Hounds, are the ones that raise the most questions here. How that will go? Will the Hounds stay undefeated, take the Wardens down to be around that 4th, 5th spot, or will there be maybe a little bit of a fight there in the middle? Is a big question. Once again, I feel inclined to say this because we mentioned the Road to Worlds, but all 6 of these teams, as with Europe, will be there in their respective regions, playing against the top 2 SOC teams to give us an 8-team bracket. That will send, I believe, 2 from EU, 2 from NA, and then 4 from the bottom of the SPL into a bracket against each other the week before Worlds on January 13th in Arlington, Texas. Whoever makes it out of there will join the top 4 teams from the Phase 3 playoffs there for the SPL. And we'll have ourselves a nice little world championship there live with fans. Charlie, I'm getting excited for it all over again.
You're making me scared again. We just did this in set number 2. You said 2 months, like 10 days, 3 hours, and I was like, dude, that's it's
I've got
too
like the
real.
countdown watch. I'm
Yeah,
wearing
you
like
got the
8 of them. It's like every single one set to a different time.
Yeah, just countdown to SWC. It's gonna be a clock that we have consistently going.
We do
up here.
have one. In the all hands meetings, we have the exact amount of days. The minute it hit double digits, it felt weird.
You could just feel a disturbance.
Like it was a very, very crucial shift when it was like, hey, by the way, 99 days, and we're like, well, I'm sorry, what? When it's over 100, that's way easier to prepare for. There's time. We'll see how that one ends up going. That's a couple months away, guys. Don't think about it right now, or do if it's going to get you hype. Either
I'm
way,
thinking about it.
I'm excited. We can look at, I believe, the schedule here for the SPL this week. For those of you who are going to be tuning in, tomorrow we're kicking it off. It's time for the second half of this double round robin. So you're going to see some repeat matchups. In fact, the first one we're kicking off was the last one before the bye week. The Warriors taking on the Bolts, Dragons, and Scarabs. That'll be tomorrow. And then this is where things are going to be crucial for those of you tuning in. You're going to hear this a lot over the next couple of weeks. But triple header on Saturday, triple header on Sunday. And starting from next week as well, you're going to see a lot more SPL. With no SCCs on Thursday, I believe next week we're going to have 2 SPL games on Thursday, 2 on Friday, then 3 and 3 again Saturday, Sunday. The next week, I think it's 3 on Thursday, 2 and 2 Friday and Saturday, and then 3 again on Sunday. A lot that's going to be closing out the last few weeks here. But there's the first look that you're going to have for those of you who maybe don't tune into the website of what's going on this weekend. Trelly, any of these standing out to you as I see Leviathans and Titans at the end. That one catches my eye very quickly.
I mean, whenever I see the Jade Dragons and the Camelot Kings, that one gets me excited as well, especially the Oni Warriors and the Tartarus Titans as well. I mean, I want to see how Stewart's going to be doing on his new team. Like, I feel like they really weren't falling into that team synergy that you'd love to see, but they get a little bit more practice under their belts, that sort of thing. So a lot to look at for sure about these matchups, and I just can't wait to get into them.
Now, there's the standings for the SPL. Again, top 6 is what matters most because you'll be able to make it to the Phase 3 playoffs. This is where things get interesting, though. I like looking at the bottom 2, bottom 3, right, to see who's going to be the ones that get eliminated immediately, but also the top 2. Because for those of you who are curious about the format, it is going to be like a double elim bracket, but a lot of qualification matches during the Phase 3 playoffs with these 6 teams that make it. And if you're in the top 2, you only have to win 1 set, and you make it to Worlds. It's very comfortable. If you're up there, you can either win the first one you play, and then boom, you're going to Worlds, or if you lose the first one you play, then you just win 1 in the lower bracket. That sounds way easier when I say it like that than it actually is.
Just win, bro.
Yeah, just win, and you go to Worlds. Like, why would you not want to do that? Just
Gore,
do
how
it.
come there's like 8 teams with losses when if you simply win, you go to Worlds? I don't understand it.
Like, if you just don't lose at all during the season, you win for all of it. I guess I should include postseason in that because there's a little bit of sprinkle at the end.
Sprinkle of spice.
Yeah, you definitely need that. We've seen teams that have gone undefeated for most of the year. Unfortunately, fall flat at the World Championship, and of course, that's what I am thinking about right now. We still have a few weeks, though, of SPL to get through. Kicking it off tomorrow at 1 p.m. Make sure you tune in. For myself, from Trelly, from everyone here at Hi-Rez Productions. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you this weekend.